Chapter 82. Roar. Feng Zichen's powerful entrance into the battlefield naturally attracted the attention of the surrounding ferocious beasts. With a loud roar, a mountain-like ferocious beast swooped down. "You're courting death." With a cold snort, Feng Zichen's body shook. The furnace of heaven and earth suddenly flew out and collided with the ferocious beast that swooped down. Boom! The ferocious beast exploded on the spot, turning into a rain of blood that was refined by the furnace of heaven and earth. Since Feng Zichen stepped into the Jiangxian realm, he had not fought with anyone. Countless Jiangxian cultivators had gathered here, regardless of whether they were ferocious beasts or other races. It was a good opportunity for him to test his true strength. With a flip of his right hand, the Zichen sword appeared in his hand. With a flash of cold light, the sword chi swept in all directions, killing the ferocious beasts one by one. Hiss! Who is this person? Those ferocious beasts can't even withstand one move from him. Moreover, judging from his aura, this person is only at the early stage of Jiangxian, the same realm as those ferocious beasts. How can he be so powerful? Seeing Feng Zichen's performance, the people on the battlefield were shocked and could not help but be curious about his origin. Unfortunately, although the mighty figures in the Untainted Land had heard of the human tribe, they were not well known in the Untainted Land. No matter how hard they racked their brains, they could not guess Feng Zichen's origin. Raising the Zichen sword, Feng Zichen gently flicked his index finger. With a melodious sword sound, boundless sword chi shot out and killed several ferocious beasts that were pouncing on him. Alas! Weak, too weak. With a sigh, Feng Zichen turned into a purple sword light and flew to the center of the battlefield. The periphery of the battlefield was full of ferocious beasts at the early stage of Jiangxian. They were no match for him at all. The center of the battlefield was different. The ferocious beasts there were even half-step Daluo beasts. Only there could he give Feng Zichen enough pressure and allow him to unleash his full strength. As soon as Feng Zichen entered the center of the battlefield, a late-stage Jiangxian beast opened its huge mouth and spat out a jet of black light at him. This jet-black light was incomparably deep, and it was actually completely condensed from innate baleful chi. It charged straight towards Feng Zichen's forehead, intending to destroy his soul and true spirit. Go! On Feng Zichen's forehead, the innate yang divine light shot out and destroyed the innate murderous chi. Then, the innate extreme yang divine light burned the beast to ashes without slowing down. As if they had sensed Feng Zichen's strength, after he had killed the ferocious beast, the surrounding ferocious beasts all ran away, not daring to approach him. However, just because the dire beasts did not dare to provoke Feng Zichen did not mean that he did not dare to provoke the dire beasts. Die! With a roar, a five-colored brilliance surged from his body and turned into the innate five elements divine light, sweeping across 1,000,000 miles. The innate five elements divine light was already extremely powerful, and after Feng Zichen entered the Jiangxian realm, its power had multiplied. When he used it, it could be said to be earth-shattering. Under the five elements divine light, the dire beasts were turned into innate murderous chi one after another. Instantly, the area within 1,000,000 miles was cleared. In the center of the battlefield, the liches and yaoists stood on the spot in shock. They did not know what kind of divine light was that it could be so powerful. Strange. Where are the half-step Daluo-level dire beasts? No matter how surprised the liches and yaoists were, Feng Zichen frowned and muttered to himself. Logically speaking, he had killed so many dire beasts. Even if the half-step Daluo-level dire beasts did not have intelligence, they would still instinctively attack him. However, after such a long time, the half-step Daluo-level dire beasts did not even show up, let alone attack him. This was very abnormal. What a powerful divine light! With this divine light, you are almost invincible under the Daluo level. Just as Feng Zichen was puzzled, a loud voice rang in his ears. Then, the world suddenly changed. A Kangmang continent, exuding an ancient and savage aura, suddenly appeared in front of him. On that continent, numerous enormous figures were engaged in an intense battle with ferocious beasts shrouded in murderous auras. Every time they collided, the space trembled, the laws of nature roared, and a terrifying aura spread in all directions. They are half-step Daluo-level dire beasts. At this moment, Feng Zichen suddenly understood. No wonder they could not be found on the battlefield. It turned out that they had opened up another battlefield. This is a fragment of the ancient wilderness. Our friends from the Kirin clan specially brought it here for us to use in battles. After all, at our level of strength, if we go all out, it will inevitably cause a certain amount of damage to the ancient wilderness. The person who pulled Feng Zichen to this battlefield continued to explain in a loud voice. If we fight here, we will not have such concerns. We can go all out to kill the dire beasts. At the half-step Daluo Jingxian level, he had already glimpsed a trace of the true essence of the Great Tao. If he went all out, he could shake the Great Tao of the ancient wilderness. Although he could not destroy the ancient wilderness, it would not be difficult to destroy the surrounding earth veins. Therefore, they needed to open up another battlefield and isolate themselves from the ancient wilderness. Yes, I understand. Thank you very much. Feng Zichen nodded and thanked the person. If he had not pulled him here, it would be troublesome to find this place by himself. Haha, no need to be so polite. It's all for the sake of the ancient wilderness. The person laughed heartily. At this time, Feng Zichen followed the sound of the hearty laughter and found the trace of him. On the vast land, there was a giant tens of thousands of feet tall. 2 yellow snakes were hanging from his ears and 2 yellow snakes were coiled around his arms. He held a wooden staff and was fighting with 3 ferocious dire beasts. Quafu. Seeing him like this, Feng Zichen immediately thought of a legendary figure in the legends of later generations. According to the classic of mountains and seas, a man had 2 yellow snakes and named them Quafu. Quafu was very similar to the giant in front of Feng Zichen. Is he Quafu? I didn't expect that he had not been promoted to the Daluo Jingxian level yet. However, looking at his power, it won't take long. I'm afraid that after this chaos, he will be promoted. After guessing the identity of Quafu, Feng Zichen thought to himself. Quafu was fighting 1 against 3, but he seemed to be at ease. He even had time to pull Feng Zichen here, which showed his strength. My friend, don't be in a daze. Do you see the mass of chaotic air in the center of the continent? Quickly brush it with your innate 5-colored divine light and see if you can destroy it. That is the source of the dire beasts. It can continuously create dire beasts. If it is not destroyed, it will be useless no matter how many dire beasts we kill. Quafu hurriedly shouted when he saw Feng Zichen was in a daze. Is there such a thing? Hearing Quafu's words, Feng Zichen's doubts disappeared. No wonder the number of dire beasts did not decrease after so many years of fighting with the dire beasts. It turned out that this was the root of it. Chapter 83. Following Quafu's instructions, Feng Zichen activated his Sun-Moon Divine Eyes. Divine light flashed in his eyes as he looked towards the center of the continent. There, the chaotic qi and chaotic evil qi intertwined. As the chaotic qi circulated, it gave birth to many ferocious beasts that attacked in all directions. Void creation. What a terrifying divine power! Although he was shocked, Feng Zichen did not slow down. He immediately mobilized all the dermic power in his body and 5 rays of light shot into the sky. The 5 rays of light no longer spread outwards. Instead, they gathered around Feng Zichen's body and surged around him. Moments later, the 5 rays of light gradually converged and turned into a divine sword that was about 1,000 miles long. Go! The 5 elements divine sword took shape. Feng Zichen pointed at the chaotic qi. The void shattered silently and the 5 elements divine sword suddenly disappeared. When the 5 elements divine sword reappeared, it was already above the chaotic qi. As the 5 elements divine sword circulated, it slashed at the chaotic qi. Just as the 5 elements divine sword was about to hit the chaotic qi trembled and a terrifying aura spread out. A half-step Daluo-level ferocious beast leaped out. Roar! The ferocious beast looked like a tiger. It had horns on its head and bone spikes all over its body. After it was born, it roared at the sky and suddenly blocked the chaotic qi in front of the 5 elements divine sword. With a boom, the 5 elements divine sword shattered and the tiger-shaped ferocious beast was split in half. However, the chaotic qi flickered slightly and a chaotic qi accompanied by evil qi fell, causing the ferocious beast to return to normal. As it roared, it pounced at Feng Zichen. Damn it! I was so close. Not far away, Quafu saw this scene and was furious. He waved his wooden staff and used even more strength, smashing a ferocious beast's brain. Unfortunately, if he did not destroy the chaotic qi, these ferocious beasts would be immortal. A grayish-black light rose from the ferocious beast. In an instant, it returned to normal and continued to attack Kuo-fu. Seeing the tiger-shaped ferocious beast charging at him, Feng Zichen's body flickered with the innate yang divine light and swept out towards the chaotic qi. At the same time, Feng Zichen picked up Zichen's sword and charged at the ferocious beast to hold it back so that it was unable to save the chaotic qi. The heavenly cycle sword qi swept out sword qi, slashing at the ferocious beast. However, due to the presence of the demon clan, Feng Zichen did not dare to summon the starlight. Otherwise, if the demonic beast saw the cosmic starlight following him when he made his move, they would immediately abandon the ferocious beasts and charge at him. Star starry tion stars light starry heavens. Feng his eyes. That's yes him. He demon Feng demonic beast. If that wasn't the case, why would he spend so much effort to condense an avatar? Wasn't it all for the sole purpose of controlling Zhouxing? Without Zhouxing's augmentation, the sword qi slashed at the ferocious beast's body like metal clashing against stone. It failed to even break through the ferocious beast's skin. After all, Feng Zichen and the ferocious beast were separated by 3 minor realms. While the heavenly cycle sword qi was thwarted, the innate yang divine light was also obstructed. As the chaotic qi trembled again, another half-step Daluo-level ferocious beast walked out and blocked the innate yang divine light. I refuse to believe that you can keep creating half-step Daluo-level ferocious beasts. After suffering a series of setbacks, Feng Zichen was enraged. Just as he was about to conjure his chaos bead and blast out a chaotic divine light, the ferocious beast suddenly stopped in front of him. The tiger-shaped ferocious beast in front of him suddenly spat out a black light at him, forcing Feng Zichen to give up his spell and stand up to defend himself. A purple beam of light surged out of his body, transforming into a purple screen that protected him. It was the Hongmeng immortal light that could repel all Dharma. Back when Xianxia received the 3 Pure Tao Sutra, Feng Zichen naturally received a copy as his main body. Although the 3 Pure Ones' Tao path was different from his, the 3 Pure Ones had a high cultivation level. The cultivation techniques they summarized contained their insights into the Great Tao and their knowledge of the universe. Xianxia gained insights into the 9 Heavens immortal light from it, while he gained insights into the Hongmeng immortal light. As the black light shimmered, it emitted an aura that could corrode everything. When it struck the Hongmeng immortal light, it caused the Hongmeng immortal light to tremble incessantly. But moments later, the Hongmeng immortal light adapted to its powers and devoured it. Humph! With a cold snort, the Suiren lantern appeared above Feng Zichen's head, sprinkling down a little bit of kindling flame to burn the tiger-shaped ferocious beast. On the other side, the newborn ferocious beast saw Feng Zichen fighting the tiger-shaped ferocious beast endlessly. It roared loudly and charged towards him. Feng Zichen was already struggling to deal with a half-step Daluo-level ferocious beast, let alone 2. After dozens of exchanges, his aura began to become chaotic. Bang! He turned around and dodged the tiger-shaped ferocious beast's huge claw, but the other ferocious beast's attack came one after another. Feng Zichen was caught off guard and was swept away by the huge claw, sending him flying. Fortunately, the human path radiance on his body flickered, and the black robe appeared, blocking the attack. Otherwise, it would not be as simple as being sent flying. If this continues, I'll be exhausted to death by these 2 ferocious beasts sooner or later. Feng Zichen thought to himself as he steadied himself. Then, he casually threw out the 10,000 elephant divine thunder to extinguish the black light spat out by the tiger-shaped ferocious beast. Then, the 5 qi in his chest rose, and he blasted out the 5 emperor's great handprint. Then, the heaven and earth furnace suddenly flew out and knocked away the other ferocious beast that was chasing after him. Unfortunately, with the mass of chaotic qi, they were practically immortal. After taking 2 powerful attacks head-on, they shook their heads and continued to charge towards Feng Zichen. Bastards! Are you addicted to it? Surrounded by 2 ferocious beasts again, Feng Zichen cursed angrily. He held the Zichen sword and slashed at them fiercely. Clang! 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 The bodies of these 2 ferocious beasts were extremely hard, much stronger than heaven's spiritual treasures. However, under Feng Zichen's full power, the Zichen sword shone with starlight and thunder, and its power suddenly soared. Huge wounds appeared on the bodies of the 2 ferocious beasts. Roar! The 2 ferocious beasts were in pain and became even more ferocious. Streams of connate murderous qi swept out and rushed towards Feng Zichen. As the man and the 2 ferocious beasts fought, Tribulation Qi, murderous Qi, and ferocious Qi all gathered here, making the place even more terrifying. With a rumble, the aftermath of the battle between the three of them spread out and shook the surroundings. Open for me. Seeing an opportunity, Feng Zichen sank his will into his sea of consciousness and awakened Pangu's memory of splitting the sky. Surrounded by the heaven-splitting Taoist rhyme, he suddenly swung his sword. This is the aura of Father God. On the other side, Kuo-fu, who was fighting with the ferocious beasts, sensed the aura that triggered his bloodline and could not help but look at Feng Zichen in shock. Under the powerful power of the heaven-splitting Taoist rhyme, the tiger-shaped ferocious beast was split into two. There was a supreme Taoist rhyme around the wound. Under the influence of this Taoist rhyme, no matter how many streams of chaotic qi rushed over, the tiger-shaped ferocious beast could not be restored. With a wail, the tiger-shaped ferocious beast shattered and turned into a cloud of chaotic qi floating in the air. Chapter 84. Just as Feng Zichen was about to slash at another beast with the Zichen sword in his hand, something strange happened. Inside the chaos bead, the Tree of Worlds shook violently and waved its roots wildly, causing the chaos qi to become agitated and form chaos tides. Sensing the change in the Tree of World, Feng Zichen released the connection between the Tree of World and the outside world to see what it was doing. After reconnecting with the outside world, the Tree of World extended a root that crossed layers of the void and took root in the chaos qi that the giant tiger had turned into after its death, absorbing it madly. I forgot that the chaos qi is the Tree of Worlds' favorite tonic. After knowing the Tree of Worlds' purpose, Feng Zichen ignored it and attacked the other ferocious beast. You've been suppressing me for so long. It's time for you to pay the price. With a cold smile, Feng Zichen activated the power of the 5 elements in his body and turned it into a glorious emperor's throne. Shadows of the 5 emperors appeared on it and pressed down on the ferocious beast, immobilizing it. Raising the Zichen sword, Feng Zichen slashed down. A light that seemed to split heaven and earth flashed, and the ferocious beast shattered silently, turning into a cloud of chaos qi. Rumble! After absorbing the 2 clouds of chaos qi that were half a step away from Daluo-level ferocious beasts, the Tree of World continued to grow taller until it reached a height of 2 million feet. Go! Seeing that the Tree of World was still unsatisfied, Feng Zichen had an idea. He pointed at the mass of chaotic air and ordered the Tree of World. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Amid the vibrations, the Tree of World quietly retreated, revealing its fear. At the same time, a desire flowed out of the Tree of World and was transmitted to Feng Zichen's heart, as if urging him to quickly take the cloud of chaos qi for it to absorb. Trash! The Tree of Worlds' pathetic performance made Feng Zichen furious. He cursed and cut off its connection with the outside world again. Phew! This cloud of chaos qi is really troublesome. Looking at the cloud of chaos qi, Feng Zichen panted slightly. With his current strength, using the heaven-splitting Dao rhyme twice in a row was still too much for him. Hiss! That's the aura of Ancestor God Pangu. Who is he? He has the opportunity to gain the Ancestor God's Dao rhyme. On the Kangmang continent, many experts gasped when they sensed the sacred and lofty aura. They hurriedly diverted a little of their attention to Feng Zichen. However, Feng Zichen's body was shrouded in the primordial celestial light. When the crowd looked at him, they could only see a hazy purple light that seemed real and illusory at the same time. Just as Feng Zichen was recuperating in a corner, a strange voice was heard. Fellow Taoist, you're really lucky to have a trace of heaven-splitting Taoist rhyme. I'm really envious of you. Who is it? Feng Zichen frowned. His mighty divine sense surged out and swept in all directions to find traces of the speaker. In the void, an illusory figure appeared in front of Feng Zichen and explained, Dao friend, please don't misunderstand. Poor Wei is Zhu Jian of the demon race. He has something important to discuss with you. He has no evil intentions. So it's Dao friend Zhu Jian, a disciple of Emperor Nvuo's palace. Feng Zichen greets you. Feng Zichen said indifferently after knowing the identity of the person. Hiss! Emperor Nvuo's palace. Dao friend is a disciple of a saint. No wonder you're so extraordinary. Zhu Jian's heart was in turmoil, and his tone unconsciously became more polite. As a member of the demon race, how could he not know where Emperor Nvuo's palace was? It was the residence of Saint Nuwa. Since this person was personally taught by a saint, It was reasonable for him to have such remarkable abilities. Zhu Jian did not doubt Feng Zichen's words. Pretending to be a disciple of a saint in the untainted land was not the way to court death. No, Dao friend, you've misunderstood. Poor Wei is only taught by Her Majesty. He is not Her Majesty's disciple. Seeing that Zhu Jian had given him the title of a sage's disciple, Feng Zichen panicked and hurriedly explained himself. When he was young, he was favored by Nuwa and was given the 36 Heavenly Dipper transformation and the congenital pearl. Therefore, it was not a problem for him to call himself a disciple of Nuwa. Even if Nuwa knew about it, she would not care. However, a disciple was different. He was the successor of her orthodoxy, and his fate was connected with hers. Feng Zichen had not even met Nuwa. How could he call himself a disciple of her? Isn't that courting death? Even so, poor Wei and the others are envious of you. Although Zhu Jian said that, he did not look down on Su Mo. Since Her Majesty Nuwa became a saint for so many years, there was only one person who could be taught by her. This person must be related to the saint. Dao friend, why are you looking for poor Wei? Since he had achieved his goal of intimidating Zhu Jian, Feng Zichen did not want to talk about the saint with Zhu Jian. He took the initiative to change the topic back to business. Poor Wei and the others notice that you have the Taoist rhyme of heaven opening and can destroy the mass of chaotic qi. Therefore, they are here to ask you to destroy it. Zhu Jian became serious when they talked about business. It's not difficult to destroy the mass of chaotic qi. However, there are countless ferocious beasts. They have blocked all of poor Wei's skills. In this case, how can I destroy it? If he could hit it, Feng Zichen would have done it long ago. He would not have waited until now. Dao friend, you don't have to worry about this. When you have finished recuperating, you only need to inform us. Poor Wei and the others will attack together to stop the ferocious beasts for you. Zhu Jian smiled. He had already planned this out. That's great. After saying that, Feng Zichen sat down with his legs crossed. A congenital 8 trigrams diagram appeared around him. As it rotated, it absorbed the vital qi from all directions and restored his body. This is Emperor Shi's congenital 8 trigrams. Zhu Jian, who was about to leave, saw this scene and his pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked that this man could be related to Emperor Shi. Scary. This is really scary. A few days later, Feng Zichen stood up and sent a message to everyone. Dao friends, what are you waiting for? Okay. Zhu Jian responded and turned into a giant beast with a human face, a leopard's body, cow's ears, one eye, and a long tail. He knocked away the ferocious beasts beside him and charged towards the mass of chaotic qi. On the other side, Quafu threw out his wooden staff. A green light shone and turned into a peach forest. It trapped the ferocious beasts fighting with him and also charged towards the mass of chaotic qi. At the same time, a person stomped the ground and turned into a beast. Its head was like a dragon, its body was like a horse, its body was like a deer, and its tail was like an ox's tail. There were 5 colored fur patterns on its back and yellow fur on its abdomen. It was the auspicious beast Kailan. It charged towards the mass of chaotic qi. Someone roared at the sky. Boundless murderous aura swept out and turned into an ape-like giant beast with a white head and bare feet. It was the divine beast Zhuyan. He held a killing sword in his hand and forced the ferocious beasts around him to retreat. He then charged towards the mass of chaotic qi. On the Kangmang continent, primitive experts burst into action. Their auras were earth-shattering and caused the continent to tremble as if it was about to break apart. The mass of chaotic qi seemed to have sensed danger. It trembled violently and half-step Daluo-level ferocious beasts walked out and faced the numerous experts. Chapter 85. Now's the time. Feng Zichen seized the opportunity while the ferocious beasts were being held back by the prehistoric experts. He suddenly swung his sword at the ball of chaotic qi. Boundless sword light lit up on Zichen's sword, giving birth to endless mysteries of the great Tao. It slashed out with an earth-shattering momentum. Although the ball of chaotic qi could create ferocious beasts, it did not possess any offensive power. Without the protection of the ferocious beasts, how could it block the sword light that swept over? The sword light slashed the ball of chaotic qi with a loud boom, splitting it into 2. After the ball of chaotic qi was split apart, it gave birth to clear and turbid qi. The clear qi was light and agile and slowly rose up, while the turbid qi was heavy and gradually sank, showing signs of turning into heaven and earth. Rumble! The great Tao rumbled, reverberating in all directions. The new heaven and earth suddenly collapsed, and the clear and turbid qi gathered at the center of heaven and earth, wanting to turn back into a ball of chaotic qi. At the same time, the countless ferocious beasts on the Kangmang continent immediately went berserk when they saw the ball of chaotic qi being attacked. As they bared their fangs and brandished their claws, tyrannical qi rolled out, and their aura more than doubled. In a normal battle, the prehistoric experts would be able to exhaust the ferocious beasts to death, even if they were twice as strong. But now the ferocious beasts only wanted to defend against the ball of chaotic qi, and did not fight the prehistoric experts at all. They allowed the countless attacks to land on their bodies, and desperately rushed towards the center of the continent. His fearless aura deeply shocked the many great desolate Aeon experts. The pressure on everyone suddenly multiplied. Fellow cultivator, quickly attack. We can't hold on for long. Zhu Jian roared at Feng Zichen after forcing a ferocious beast to retreat with difficulty. Seeing the crisis, Feng Zichen did not care too much. He took out a ball of Fortune Yuan liquid from the chaos bead and swallowed it. In an instant, boundless Fortune Yuan qi exploded in his body, spreading to his limbs and bones, causing his body to be filled with the white light of fortune. Ah! Feng Zichen felt as if his body was about to explode under the pressure of the creation qi. He could not help but roar. While he could still maintain his clarity, he gathered his mind and sank into the depths of his memories. The scenes of Pangu fighting against the 3,000 chaos demon gods during the chaos era flashed before his eyes one by one, causing him to be engrossed in them. Following the feeling in his heart, Feng Zichen raised the Zichen sword in his hand and swung it 9 times at the mass of chaotic air. With every swing of the sword, the light of creation on Feng Zichen's body dimmed a little. After 7 strikes, the creation qi in his body was completely depleted. Feng Zichen panted heavily after all 9 swords had been unleashed. His face was pale, and his forehead was covered with bean-sized beads of sweat. He fell from the sky powerlessly and crashed heavily onto the ground. On the other hand, the 9 rays of sword light were vast and boundless while suffused with a simple aura of the Tao. It seemed as if boundless grand Taos were being derived from them as they successively blasted onto the ball of chaotic qi. Crack! The ball of chaotic qi shattered, giving birth to clear and turbid qi. Then, 2 elements were born. Earth, fire, water, and wind intertwined. The qi of the 5 elements cycled back and forth, deducing a magnificent world. In the world, thousands of Taos of heaven and earth appeared one after another, giving birth to divine chains of laws. Endless great Tao runes danced in the air, constructing the order of heaven and earth. The laws of heaven and earth were fully manifested, and the mysteries of the great Tao were contained within. However, the world was just born and was extremely unstable. It also lacked something to suppress it. Therefore, the world collapsed and headed towards destruction shortly after its birth. The destruction of a world. How great was the power contained within it? The void shattered layer by layer, and the laws of heaven and earth clanged as they broke apart. The qi of earth, fire, water, and wind surged, and the qi of the 5 elements danced chaotically. Rays of destructive qi shot out, wantonly destroying everything around them. In the end, the world exploded with a loud bang. With the center of the Kangmang continent as the origin, a boundless force swept in all directions. The void immediately ceased to exist, and the continent was instantly destroyed. Not good. Retreat quickly. Seeing this scene, many experts of the wilderness were so horrified that their faces turned pale. They abandoned their opponents and fled into the wilderness. Even the ferocious beasts could not help but show fear in the face of the power generated when the world was destroyed. They howled and fled into the wilderness. While everyone was frantically fleeing, the world tree quietly extended a root from the chaos bead, avoiding everyone's perception. It took root in the center of the world and carefully absorbed the remaining power of the world. Fellow cultivator, quickly follow me and leave. Kuafu, who was passing by, was shocked to see Feng Zichen lying on the ground. He hurriedly pulled him up and rushed out. Boom! When everyone and the ferocious beasts returned to the wilderness, the Kangmang continent shattered, and a destructive storm swept out. Everything in its path was destroyed. Hiss! I didn't expect the chaotic qi ball to contain so much power. Fortunately, we ran quickly. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Everyone still had some lingering fear after escaping the Kangmang continent. Thank you, fellow cultivator. After adjusting his breathing, Feng Zichen's face was much rosier. He could already walk normally. He got up and thanked Kuo-fu. Fellow cultivator, you don't need to thank us. If you hadn't broken the chaotic chi ball, we would still be fighting with the ferocious beasts. We should be the ones thanking you. How can we let you thank us? Kuo-fu waved his hand at Feng Zichen and smiled embarrassedly. Fellow cultivator, Kuo-fu is right. Without your help, who knows how long we would have to wait to break the chaotic chi ball. Yes, we have to thank you for breaking the chaotic chi ball. Otherwise, when the Taoist priests returned, we wouldn't have been able to quell the chaos of the ferocious beasts. We would have been doomed. After recovering from the aftermath of the apocalypse, everyone thanked Feng Zichen one after another. You're too kind, fellow cultivators. The ferocious beasts are the public enemy of the wilderness. As a member of the wilderness, it is my duty to exterminate the ferocious beasts. Feng Zichen smiled and didn't take their praise to heart. Everyone present was either an ancestor or an overlord in the future. They were all people like Daluo. Feng Zichen didn't believe that they didn't have the means to break the chaotic chi ball. It was just that they didn't want to reveal their trump cards because they had many enemies here. It should be said that after so many years, the shaman and demon race had already accumulated a blood feud that couldn't be resolved. As soon as they met, they would fight to the death. Although the two races had temporarily put aside their hatred because of the ferocious beasts, Feng Zichen felt that it was impossible for them to work together wholeheartedly against the enemy. Fellow cultivators, now that the chaotic chi ball has been destroyed, these ferocious beasts can no longer come back to life. We'd better get rid of them as soon as possible. Feng Zichen changed the topic and said to the others. The ferocious beasts came to the wilderness. Driven by their instincts, they destroyed everything in front of them. In the blink of an eye, they destroyed several earth veins. These ferocious beasts deserve to die. Cursing, Zhu Jian said to Feng Zichen, Fellow cultivator Zichen, please rest for a while. Leave these ferocious beasts to us. As they spoke, they rushed toward the ferocious beasts. Chapter 86. Many Daluo Jingxi and half-step Daluo Jingxian fought in an earth-shattering battle, causing the world to lose its color and the mountains to shake. Although it was a chaotic battle, everyone had their own groups. The demon clan joined forces and formed a star formation. They activated the power of Zhouxing and stabilized the boundless void. Then they attacked the ferocious beasts. The wizard clan revealed their huge wizard true forms. As they moved, boundless turbid air gushed out, stabilizing the vast land and attacking the ferocious beasts. Under the effect of these two formations, the void became more stable and the earth became heavier. When everyone was fighting, they could no longer shake the world and destroy the untainted land. Without any scruples, the rest of the people attacked without holding back. In the roar, a majestic aura rose into the sky and hit the firmament. Connate spiritual treasures appeared in everyone's hands, filled with Taoist rhymes and overflowing with spiritual light. Die! In the roar, everyone took out their connate spiritual treasures. Dazzling divine light burst out and swept towards the countless ferocious beasts. One side was bare-handed while the other side was armed with spiritual treasures. The ferocious beasts, who were already inferior to the people of the untainted land, were no match for them. Roar, roar, roar! Wherever the divine light reached, cries of agony could be heard. The ferocious beasts were crushed by the divine light and turned into clouds of chaotic chi. They scattered into the untainted land and strengthened the origin of the world. Just as the people of the untainted land were fighting with the ferocious beasts, the Tree of World finally absorbed the remaining power of the world and underwent a shocking change. In the rumbling, the Tree of World continued to grow taller. Runes of the Great Tao emerged from its body, emitting dazzling divine light. The light was incredible and indescribable. It was the light of the Great Tao, mysterious and unpredictable. The patterns on its body were constantly changing, describing the changes of the Great Tao. The branches and leaves swayed and rustled. It was like the sound of Tao, attracting people to enter the Tao. As the roots floated, the connection with the endless dimension became closer. Connate chi rolled over and fell down in the form of spiritual rain, forming a lake under its body that was dazzling with spiritual light. On the branches, hazy shadows of worlds appeared. They were lifted in the void by the Tree of World, as if they were about to become real. Strands of origin of heaven and earth flowed down from the Tree of World and into Feng Zichen's body. They constantly washed over his body, causing all sorts of wondrous changes to his body. There was the rise and fall of yin and yang, the appearance of black rabbits, the arrival and departure of tides, the bright and dark of the wind and rain, the rumbling of thunder and lightning, the puffing of clouds, the standing of mountains and rivers, the flourishing and withering of plants and trees, the silence of movement and silence, the opening and closing of the changes, all of which were similar to the sky. Ah! With a long roar, Feng Zichen's innate Tao patterns intertwined in his body and released a dazzling divine light. A vast aura erupted and shook the surrounding void. With the assistance of the quintessence of the heavens and the earth this time, even though his cultivation hadn't broken through, his quintessence had strengthened greatly. Every single move he made conformed with the heavens and the earth, and the aura of the Tao coiled around it. Come! Standing up, Feng Zichen's face was filled with excitement. He suddenly took out the Zichen sword and jumped into the battlefield, killing the group of beasts. Chi! Amidst the sound of the air being torn apart, a dazzling sword light shot out and pierced through a ferocious beast. After that, the ferocious beast split apart in midair, giving birth to clear and turbid, and then it transformed into the Tao and left. Hiss! What's the origin of this sword light? It's actually able to transform one into the Tao? Terrifying, truly terrifying to the extreme. Under the sword light, everyone felt a wave of fear and trepidation as if they were about to transform into the Tao, and a wisp of fear couldn't help but arise in their hearts. I never expected that this battle would actually allow me to comprehend a trace of the Tao aura of heaven splitting. Even Feng Zichen himself was shocked by the might of this sword strike. For the sake of destroying the mass of chaotic qi, he'd forcefully drawn upon the memory of splitting open the heavens and barely managed to slash out 9 sword lights that contained the Tao aura of heaven splitting. Even though it caused his body to be injured, he'd comprehended a trace of the Tao aura of heaven splitting because of it. The Tao aura of heaven splitting was Panga's highest achievement, and it was the essence of his grand Tao. Even if Feng Zichen had only comprehended a little bit of it, it still possessed inconceivable might. Ha ha! Feng Zichen was delighted in his heart, and he roared with laughter while his attacks became even more ferocious. He intended to seize this opportunity to deepen his understanding of the Tao aura of heaven splitting. 8,000 years later, as the last half-step Daluo-level ferocious beast fell, the sky was filled with auspicious clouds, golden light, and propitious qi. Boundless qi of heaven and earth gathered in the sky. Slaying the ferocious beasts was an act of protecting the eldritch world, and the heavenly way was never stingy with its rewards for meritorious people. As the Tao sound reverberated, the qi of heaven and earth merit suddenly dispersed and turned into balls of golden light that entered everyone's bodies. Among them, the most qi of heaven and earth merit entered Feng Zichen's body. After all, he was the one who'd shattered the mass of chaotic qi. Sigh! Realizing this, everyone present couldn't help but sigh in regret. Feng Zichen, who was watching from the side, couldn't stop laughing. In order to hide their strength, these people were unwilling to destroy the mass of chaotic qi, and so they tricked him, a newcomer, into doing it. Now they're dumbfounded. They allowed him to gain so much merit for no reason. As the battle here came to an end, the quasi-sage battle in the heavens beyond heaven also came to an end. Di Jun wielded the sun god's sword and suddenly slashed out a majestic sword ray, splitting a late-stage quasi-sage ferocious beast in half. Then, without giving the ferocious beast a chance to recover, the He Tu and Luo Shu flew out and turned into a Khanate 9 palace diagram, sucking the ferocious beast into it. Accompanied by a series of howls, the Khanate 9 palace diagram refined the ferocious beast into a mass of chaotic origin, which was then taken by Di Jun. On the other side, Fuxi sat cross-legged in the chaos, his hands constantly strumming the Fuxi zither. In the melodious sound of the zither, lines of Khanate Tao patterns appeared and bound a quasi-sage ferocious beast. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of the zither changed and turned into an unparalleled killing sound. Wherever the sound waves reached, layers of the void were destroyed and everything was killed. Roar! With a painful howl, the ferocious beast was shredded into pieces by the sound waves. At the same time, the Khanate Tao patterns that bound the ferocious beast suddenly moved and turned into a Khanate 8 trigrams diagram, which started to spin on its own. Before the ferocious beast could reform its body, it was refined into a mass of chaotic origin by the 8 trigrams power that surged over. Die! Jiang roared. Under the ferocious beast's incredulous gaze, the concept of space was erased. In an instant, the void no longer existed, and everything returned to the void. Only the ferocious beast's origin was left after it died. On the other side, the candle dragon suddenly exploded. The aura of time spread, and the timeline of the ferocious beast that was fighting against him started to rewind. In the end, it returned to the state before it was born, the origin of chaos. Seeing that Di Jun and the others killed their opponents first, Daoist Kundi felt that he had lost face and was furious. You're courting death. As the wonderful tree of 7 treasures waved, it triggered the laws of heaven and earth and killed a ferocious beast on the spot. Junior brother, you're too focused. Daoist Jain sighed, but he did not show any mercy. He suddenly waved the green lotus flag in his hand, and white chi floated in the air and thousands of rays of golden light, crushing the ferocious beast in front of him. Chapter 87. In outer heavens, dozens of pre-saint mighty figures burst forth at the same time, charging at the beasts. Their powerful aura shook the world, causing the chaotic chi to surge, the sun, moon, and stars to tremble, and the heavenly court to shake. How dare you! On the sun, Dong Huang Tai, who was recovering in seclusion, was awakened by the majestic aura. He couldn't help but open his eyes. In an instant, time and space stopped, and all was silent. The heavenly court stopped shaking, and the sun, moon, and stars stopped trembling. The chaotic chi returned to its calmness, and the surging majestic aura also disappeared silently. Hiss! This Tai is even stronger. In outer heavens, many mighty figures noticed the changes below, and were deeply shocked by Tai's strength. The demons were naturally excited, their faces filled with excitement. The stronger Tai was, the stronger the demons would be. How could they not be happy? The Wu tribe, on the other hand, looked very uncomfortable. Every time Tai improved, he could activate the Bell of Chaos to a greater extent, which was a great threat to the Wu tribe. The other mighty figures all had different thoughts. Some saw hope in Tai's breakthrough, and were naturally delighted. Some saw that the demons were getting stronger, and couldn't help but frown. Tai deserves to be called the #1 expert in the untainted land. He actually took advantage of the opportunity of fighting with the chaos demonic god to go one step further and reach the great completeness of sage to be. Inside the palace of Empress Nva, Nuwa praised. One had to know that before becoming a saint, he was only a mid-stage pre-saint. Haha, my path is complete. Daoist Mingi smiled proudly. He took out the 2 connate killing swords, Yuan2 and Avici. Cold killing intent suddenly flew out and killed a beast. Is this Daoist Mingi crazy? The mighty figures couldn't help but feel disgusted when they saw Mingi laughing for no reason. Daoist Mingi was a connate god born in the blood sea of the netherworld. When he was born, he stood on the 12th grade red lotus of karmic fire and held the 2 swords, Yuan2 and Avici. These 3 were all supreme grade connate spiritual treasures. The 12th grade red lotus of karmic fire was formed from the lotus seed of the green lotus of creation. The Yuan2 and Avici twin swords were the embodiment of killing weapons between heaven and earth. They would not be tainted by karma when killing people. They were true treasures of killing. With 3 supreme grade primordial spiritual treasures as his accompanying spiritual treasures, it could be said that in the entire untainted land, no one could compare to Mingi except the Eastern Emperor Tai, who was born with the Bell of Chaos. Even the 3 pure ones could not compare to him. Logically speaking, Daoist Mingi was born with great luck and was a top great divine ability in the untainted land. He should be a distinguished guest of many mighty figures. Unfortunately, the netherworld sea of blood was formed from Pangu's stomach, causing waves of blood to surge within it, causing fish and prawns to be unable to move about, birds and insects to be absent. All the evil chi in the heavens and the earth had gathered here, and there were even countless incomplete spirits gathered here, causing it to be a great filthy place in the heavens and the earth. Daoist Mingi was born among them. In addition, he was a loner and had a strong murderous nature. Naturally, many powerful figures did not like him. As a result, he did not have any friends in the primordial world and was faintly excluded from the mainstream. Humph! Sensing the disgust on everyone's faces, Daoist Mingi snorted coldly and flicked his sleeves to collect the origin of chaos. His figure flashed and he returned to the blood sea. Seeing Daoist Mingi leave, everyone's eyebrows twitched. They felt that something big was about to happen, so they quickly left and returned to the untainted land. In the depths of the Blood Sea, Taoist Mingi stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the origin of chaos floating in the air and could not hide his excitement. Haha! With this item, today is the day I, Mingi, attain Tao. Taoist Mingi's excitement made him look crazy. He made a series of incantations, causing the Blood Sea to surge continuously. Boundless blood evil chi gathered and surged into the origin of chaos. In just a moment, the appearance of the origin of chaos had changed greatly, turning into a blood-colored placenta. Good. Give it to the poor way. The change of the origin of chaos boosted Taoist Mingi's confidence. In his extreme excitement, even a touch of redness appeared on his face. As he spoke, Taoist Mingi suddenly raised his right hand and grabbed at the Blood Sea. With this grab, the Blood Sea surged, the sky trembled, the void distorted, and a large area of space collapsed. In the sound of whining, the remnant spirits wandering in the Blood Sea seemed to have been summoned. Under Taoist Mingi's grab, they all rushed toward the blood-colored placenta, causing it to jump continuously as if it had a life of its own. Haha! Although the poor way is not proficient in the path of creation, with this origin of chaos, it can make up for the shortcomings of the poor way and replace the existence of the path of creation. Taoist Mingi was satisfied with the vitality born on the blood-colored placenta. It turned out that Taoist Mingi had the same idea when he saw Nuwa become a saint by creating a human. Nuwa was only in the middle stage of sage to be, but she could become a saint with the virtue of creating a human. Taoist Mingi was an expert in the late stage of sage to be. If he could create a race that was more powerful than the human race, it might be possible for him to become a saint. However, in terms of killing people, Taoist Mingi was in charge of the path of slaughter, and no one in the untainted land could surpass him. However, to create a new race, one needed to be extremely proficient in the path of creation, which was not suitable at all. In this way, he did not know where to start. Therefore, although Taoist Mingi had the idea, he had never put it into action because the path of slaughter and the path of creation restrained each other. However, the appearance of the ferocious beasts made him see hope again. Those ferocious beasts were created by the chaos demonic god with the origin of chaos, and the origin of chaos was the source of heaven and earth and the foundation of all things. It could completely replace the path of creation, and it could even do better. Haha! With the origin of chaos as the placenta, the evil blood chi as the body, and the remnant souls of all living beings as the true spirit, the race created by the poor way must be extremely powerful, and it will be an innate race. The human race created by the Nuwa is born weak, and it is no longer an innate race. How can it be compared with the innate race created by the poor way? Nuwa can become a saint with an innate race, and the poor way can also create an innate race. When this new innate race is born, it will be the time for the poor way to become a saint. Haha! In the laughter, Taoist Mingi's expression became crazier. With a light step, the 12th grade red lotus of hellfire appeared and took root in the nether Blood Sea, holding up the blood-colored placenta. Suddenly, a red light flashed, and the red lotus of hellfire became even more enchanting. As its roots floated, it kept extracting the origin of the Blood Sea and poured it into the blood-colored placenta to accelerate its growth. Bas! Bas! Under the infusion of the origin of the Blood Sea, the blood-colored placenta trembled crazily, and the light of creation flowed continuously. It could be seen that a vague figure was gradually taking shape inside, emitting a strong vitality. At this moment, Taoist Mingi had calmed down, and the craziness in his eyes was replaced by a dignified look. Just one more step, and this race will be born for real. Taoist Mingi's eyes shone with a strange light. As he spoke, he suddenly hammered his chest and spat a mouthful of essence blood at the blood-colored placenta. The last step was to brand the new race with the mark of the untainted land, so that it would be recognized by the untainted land. Chapter 88. There was a trace of the chaos demon god's aura in the origin of chaos. The new connate race was born from the origin of chaos, so it was inevitable that it would be affected by the aura. Therefore, Taoist Mingi injected his essence blood into the blood-colored placenta and used his own sacred aura to dilute the aura of the chaos demon god. This allowed the new connate race to be recognized by the heaven and earth and be born with the connate fate. After absorbing Taoist Mingi's essence blood, the trembling blood-colored placenta slowly calmed down. The holy light of creation around it also started to shrink. Only the Taoist rhyme filled the air, and a trace of consciousness was born. Rumble! As if sensing the birth of a new life, the entire Nether Blood Sea was cheering. Waves of blood surged and rose to the sky to express their excitement. Soon. Soon. Taoist Mingi was excited. His eyes were resolute. He made a series of gestures with both hands, and a supreme killing intent burst out, drawing out blood-colored runes and sinking them into the blood-colored placenta. Those were runes formed by the Khanate killing path, which was Taoist Mingi's highest achievement so far. Now he was sending all his understanding of the great path into the blood-colored placenta, striving to create a more perfect Khanate race. Following Taoist Mingi's actions, endless Taoist rhymes surged from the Nether Blood Sea. A supreme killing intent spread out and swept across the untainted land. The sound of waves shook the sky for thousands of miles. Such a big movement from the Blood Sea immediately alarmed the entire untainted land. The powerful figures who had just returned from the heavens beyond heavens sensed the movement. Their expressions changed, and they all looked at the Nether Blood Sea in surprise. Hiss, what happened to the Blood Sea? Why is there such a shocking change? I wonder, what is Mingi doing? Could he be like Tai, comprehending something in this battle and breaking through to the next realm? Or is he cultivating some kind of great magic? Thinking of what Mingi said before he left and the twitching of his eyebrows after he left, the powerful figures couldn't help but feel gloomy. Subconsciously, they increased the output of their Dharma power. As the divine light flowed, they looked through the layers of blood waves to the depths of the Blood Sea, where Mingi was. That's the light of creation. The chi of creation in the Blood Sea is so dense. Doesn't Mingi walk the Tao of slaughter? Why do you have such an understanding of the Tao of creation? Although the Tao of slaughter and the Tao of creation are both supreme great Taos, these two Taos naturally counter each other. If he cultivates two Taos at the same time, isn't he afraid that the great Taos will conflict and harm his origin? When the mighty figures saw the light of creation flickering in the Blood Sea, they thought that Mingi Taoist wanted to cultivate two paths at the same time. They felt that he was extremely bold. Although after becoming the Daluo Jingxian, he would no longer have to worry about the problem of his realm falling. However, if his foundation was damaged, it would still affect his ability to display his strength. Moreover, it would be extremely difficult to recover. By doing this, Taoist Mingi was betting on his future with his strength. He was ruthless to himself. Humph, how dare you? Have you asked Yuan Tu and Avicii in my hands before peeping at the sea of blood without any scruples? Mingi's face darkened. Yuan Tu's sword and Abi's sword were suddenly unsheathed. Two blood-red sword rays swept out and shattered the eyes of the mighty figures. Now, the new innate races had not been truly born. They had not been recognized by the heavens and earth. Accidents could happen at any time. If those mighty figures were jealous and secretly destroyed the blood-red placenta, Mingi would have nowhere to cry. It would be better for everyone to chase them away before they discovered the blood-red placenta. This was related to the opportunity to attain Tao. Mingi had to be careful. Regardless of whether he would offend the mighty figures or not, he had to put an end to all accidents. Mingi, you. Knowing that they were in the wrong, the mighty figures were angry. However, they did not have the face to say anything. If others spied on their dojo like this, they would be even more ruthless. These people are really a hindrance. Knowing that he could not hide it from them for long, Taoist Mingi clenched his teeth and pointed at the Blood Sea. As the blood waves rolled, a blood-red figure slowly appeared. Its appearance was exactly the same as Mingi's. This was Mingi's clone, formed by his blood god's illusions. Among his 480 million blood god's illusions, there were only 3 Daluo Jingxian. Taoist Mingi was the master of the Blood Sea. When he had become a Daluo Jingxian, he had refined the entire Blood Sea. It was said that as long as the Blood Sea did not dry up, Mingi would not die. After that, he had condensed 480 million blood gods' illusions from the Blood Sea and refined them into clones. Each of them had the cultivation of a golden immortal. After a long period of growth, the blood gods' illusions had improved greatly. They had advanced to the Tai Jingxian realm. 3 of the blood gods' illusions had been cultivated by Taoist Mingi and stepped into the Daluo realm. Break! Enduring the pain in his heart, Mingi pointed at the clone. The clone shattered and turned into the chi of origin and fell into the blood-red placenta. In order to cultivate these 3 blood gods' illusions to the Daluo Jingxian, Taoist Mingi had paid a great price. But today, in order to give birth to the blood-red placenta, he did not hesitate to destroy one of them. This showed his determination to let a new race be born. Becoming a saint had almost become his obsession. Thump, thump, thump. After the blood god's illusions merged with the blood-red placenta, a violent heartbeat came from the placenta, and a majestic vitality gushed out. Then, the blood-red placenta twisted, and a murderous god-fiend was born. At that moment, the nether blood sea rumbled. Endless Taoist rhymes poured out. A supreme murderous aura swept across the untainted land, and the light of creation shone through the heavens and the earth. When the first living creature created by Mingyi appeared in the untainted land, the heavenly Tao immediately reacted. Tens of thousands of Taoists in the world suddenly fell. The sound of the great Tao resounded in the untainted land. Tens of thousands of rays of golden light, thousands of auspicious qi, and endless auspicious clouds gathered. In an instant, brilliant golden light appeared in the vast universe and filled the sky above the blood sea. That was the Xianhuang qi of merit. It was the heavenly Tao's reward for the creation of Mingyi's race. Merit aura. So much merit aura. What did the Nether River do? Many mighty figures who had retreated looked over again when they saw the merit aura. Well, no, that's not the qi of creation derived from the path of creation. It's the qi of creation derived from the origin of chaos. Mingyi didn't comprehend the path of creation. He was misleading Poor Wei and others. What's the matter with that living creature? Besides Mingyi, there are other living creatures in the blood sea. How could it be? His aura is not of the demon tribe, nor the wizard tribe. It doesn't belong to any race in the untainted land. It's a living creature that has never appeared before. I see. Poor Wei understands now. Mingyi Taoist, with the help of the origin of chaos, wants to imitate Nuwa and create another race. In this way, he can obtain supreme merit and become a saint. Mingyi is so ambitious. But without the Hongmeng purple qi, can he really become a saint with only merit? For a moment, everyone stared at Mingyi, wanting to see if he could succeed. Chapter 89. If Taoist Mingyi could use this merit to step into the sage realm, wouldn't it mean that this path was feasible? They could also use this to step into the sage realm. Although it was a little difficult to create a race, there was no reason that they couldn't do what Taoist Mingyi could do with the origin of chaos. Merit from the heavens means that this matter has been recognized by the heavenly Tao. It's an act of obedience to the heavens. Poor Wei and the rest can't come out to stop it, or they will be punished by the heavens. Now let's see if Mingyi, who doesn't have the Hongmeng purple gas, can use this to prove his Tao and open up another path for Poor Wei and the rest. In the sky above the nether blood sea, countless powerful figures gathered and communicated with each other, waiting for the result of this matter. The first new creature that was created was surrounded by a strong murderous aura, as if it wanted to kill everything, and its eyes were full of arrogance. Greetings, Ancestor. Thank you for your kindness of creation. Ancestor, please give me a name. When the creature saw Taoist Mingyi, the murderous aura disappeared, and the arrogance in its eyes disappeared. It was filled with gratitude and immediately bowed to him. Good child. There's no hurry to name you. You can leave first. When I create your brother and sister, I'll give you a name together. Taoist Mingyi glanced at him and was very satisfied. When the other party was born, he had the cultivation of Jianghu and was born with a natural Tao body. He was a real innate divine demon. Other than his ugly appearance, he was perfect in all other aspects. He was born with the origin of chaos, the qi of blood as his body, and the remnant spirits of all living beings as his spirit. He had also obtained the origin of blood sea, Taoist Mingyi's essence blood, and the entire origin of a Daluo Jingxian. All these were treasures that were hard to find in the world. A race that was born with this kind of creation was innate. How could it not be strong? Moreover, the feeling of being connected by blood made Taoist Mingyi's solitary heart waver a little, and a warm smile appeared on his face. Yes, that new creature is actually an innate divine demon, and it's one of the upper-class innate divine demons. This race created by Mingyi is not simple. If the people born in the future are also innate gods, even if they can't grow into a force like the shamans and demons, they will be a headache for the shamans and demons. When the time comes, there will be a good show to watch. Many almighties who were staring at this place saw the creature created by the Nether River appear. They all pointed at him and thought of the future. They couldn't help but gloat. Humph. Don't bother about them. If you're still angry, wait until you've succeeded in your cultivation in the future. Then, you can go and get back at them yourself. Mingi said coldly as he shielded the other party behind him. Now that the new race had been born and was protected by the heavenly axiom, those powerful people would not dare to act recklessly. Mingi Taoist no longer had any scruples and openly displayed everything in front of everyone. Rumble! As the blood-colored placenta twisted, the essence of the netherblood sea surged over. The Tao rhymes that spread out became even more grand and ethereal. Child pays his respects to the ancestor. Thank you for your kindness. Please bestow a name upon this child. As the blood-colored light surged, the figures of a man and two women were born from the blood-colored placenta. They came before Mingi Taoist and bowed to him. Very good. Let me think, what name should I give you? Among the three, the man was ugly and the woman was beautiful. They were all born as innate gods and had the cultivation of Tai Jinxian. Your name is Bo Soon, your name is Shiva, your name is Brahma, and your name is Wuma. After thinking for a while, Mingi Taoist named the four of them according to the order of their birth. Bo Soon, Shiva, Brahma, Wuma, thank you for your names, ancestor. After receiving their names, the four of them were excited and thanked Mingi in unison. Instantly, the heavenly axiom sensed it and sent 4 connate spiritual treasures into the hands of the four of them. Bo Soon received a long black saber that emitted a strong murderous aura. It was a superior grade connate spiritual treasure. Shiva received a conch, Brahma received a wheel, and Wuma received a 3-pronged trident. As they were born later, their origins were not as strong as Bo Soon's. Therefore, their opportunities were not as good as Bo Soon's. The connate spiritual treasures they obtained were only middle grade. After giving birth to 4 innate gods in succession, all of whom were in the Tai Jinxian realm, the light on the blood-colored placenta dimmed significantly. It had lost a lot of its origins. When Mingi saw this, he understood that the blood-colored placenta had reached its limit and could no longer give birth to innate gods. He suddenly waved his hand and the blood-colored placenta exploded, turning into tens of thousands of rays of blood light that scattered into the sea of blood. The blood light fell into the sea of blood and crazily devoured the surrounding blood water, giving birth to embryos and giving birth to new lives. Seeing the embryos in the sea of blood, Mingi Taoist's heart skipped a beat. He felt that the opportunity had arrived and hurriedly announced to the world, "The heavenly axiom is above." Poor Wei, the master of the netherworld's blood sea Mingi, has sensed that in the sea of blood, fish and prawns are not active, birds and insects do not come, and the world's evil aura has gathered, resulting in the extinction of living beings. Today, I specially created a race called the Sun Azura to fill the gap in the sea of blood and make up for the insufficiency of the world. His voice was so loud that it echoed throughout the entire wilderness, clearly entering the ears of all living beings and shaking their hearts. Impossible. Without the violet aura of Hongmeng, there's no way Mingi could have succeeded. Even Taoist 3 Purities, who had been in secluded meditation on Mount Kunlun, was startled awake by this voice. He suddenly rose to his feet and stared nervously at Mingi as he cried out in disbelief. Nuwa being the first to become a saint was already enough to make them feel aggrieved. If Mingi Taoist was one step ahead of them, they would lose all face as the 3 Purities. How would they have the face to call themselves the head disciples of the Taoist school of wonders? As Mingi's voice rang out, the might of the heavenly axiom suddenly descended and filled the sea of blood. It gathered the aura of creation from all directions and poured into the embryos, hastening the birth of the Azura race. Azura! Azura! An ineffable voice rang out, calling out the name of the Azura race and echoing throughout the world. This was the sound of the world's blessings for the birth of a new race. Bizizati! 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 The blood embryos trembled violently, emanating a resplendent blood-red light that rippled outwards in all directions. Amidst the rumbling, one Azura after another was born. They roared towards the heavens, announcing their birth. The newborn Azura race came in all shapes and sizes. Some had 3 heads and 6 arms, some were completely black, some had 9 heads and 1,000 eyes, some breathed fire from their mouths. The males were ugly, while the females were beautiful. Although their forms were different, the auras they emanated were the same. This was the baleful aura of the blood that had accumulated over countless years within the sea of blood, as well as the boundless killing intent of Taoist Mingi. Even the weakest of them had the cultivation of a celestial immortal when they were born. They were a true Xiantian race. In the air above the Sea of Blood, as the number of Azura race increased, the laws of the Grand Tao became clearer and clearer. The aura of the Tao became thicker and thicker, and the sounds of the Tao were like the rumbling of thunder. More and more aura of virtue gathered, illuminating the entire Sea of Blood. Strands of indescribable light appeared, illuminating the fates of all living beings. This was the light of destiny. Chapter 90. Under the illumination of the light of destiny, a dreamlike river flickered with specks of light and carried a blurry color as it slowly flowed through the Sea of Blood. At this moment, the river of destiny quietly descended. As the river of destiny flowed, strands of light appeared on the bodies of the newly born Azuras. The light was blurry and similar to the light of destiny. As soon as it was born, it flew toward the river of destiny. Tens of thousands of strands of light gathered above the river of destiny, forming a demon god Dharma idol. The demon god was greenish-black in color and had 3 heads and 6 arms. It had vertical eyes on its brows and spat fire from its mouth. It looked furious. The 2 hands above it held up the sun and moon, and the 4 hands below it each held a knife, fork, wheel, and conch. Looking at its appearance, it was formed from the characteristics of all the Azuras. This demon god Dharma idol was the most perfect image of the Azuras. It was the manifestation of their providence on the river of destiny. Its appearance represented that the Azuras had officially stepped onto the stage of the primordial world and performed their own legend. Rumble. The moment the demon god Dharma idol that represented the providence of the Azuras appeared in the river of destiny, boundless merit suddenly descended from the sky above the Sea of Blood and surged into Taoist Mingi's body. Haha! My Tao is complete! As the merit entered his body, Taoist Mingi felt his spiritual platform become clear and endless mystery surged out. All kinds of great Tao laws could be seen clearly. What he did not understand before, he suddenly understood with the help of the merit aura. It was as if the great Tao was within reach. At this moment, the creation of the Azuras and the enlightenment of the creation laws were all integrated by Taoist Mingi and merged into the Tao of Slaughter. This made his comprehension of the Tao of Slaughter even more profound. As his killing intent spread, it seemed to want to destroy the vitality of all things. In addition to his identity as the ancestor of the Azuras, Taoist Mingi's cultivation soared with the blessing of the primordial world. His physical body was transforming, his realm was rising, and the surging dharmic powers in his body were increasing layer by layer. All of this pushed Mingi toward a higher realm. So powerful! Mingi's aura is no weaker than Tai Yi's, and it's still strengthening. Is he about to break through? The Xianhuang Qi of virtue is so rich. With its help, even without the Hongmeng purple Qi, Styx might really succeed. At this moment, all the mighty figures were staring at Mingi who was breaking through. They were extremely nervous and wished that they could be in his place. As long as Mingi successfully broke through, it meant that this method was feasible. They would immediately take action. With the origin of chaos as the foundation, they would create the creation clan and use it to peer into the Supreme Saint realm. Along with Mingi's breakthrough, a powerful aura suddenly erupted, sweeping across the heavens and earth. The heaven and earth, the earth and the universe were all shrouded in cold killing intent. As countless runes danced in the air, a blood-red divine chain of the Great Path rose from Taoist Mingi's body and ran through the entire world. This was Mingi's comprehension of the Great Path, which was transformed from his Tao fruits. After the blood-colored divine chains appeared, in the depths of the world, where the essence of all Taos resided, the Tao of Slaughter rumbled as if it wanted to leave this place and appear in the Sea of Blood. As long as Mingi's comprehension of the Tao of Slaughter merged perfectly with the Tao of Slaughter in the world, he would be able to prove his Tao and become the primordial Daoyuo Jingxian who was comparable to a saint. Unfortunately, the Tao of Slaughter only moved a few times before calming down again. In the outside world, just as Mingi saw the dawn of a breakthrough, the boundless Qi of virtue suddenly stopped, causing Mingi's momentum to stagnate. Without the support of the Qi of virtue, the power of the blood-red divine chains suddenly weakened. They could no longer touch the origin of the world and retreated into Taoist Mingi's body. Ah, no! Taoist Mingi roared unwillingly. His aura stopped growing and gradually calmed down, stabilizing at the level of demi-saint great perfection. Did he fail? This time, Mingi created the Ashura tribe. Although he didn't get as much merit as Nuwa created humans, It's not that far off. Plus, Taoist Mingi is more powerful than Nuwa back then. Even so, he still failed. It seems that the problem doesn't lie with his merit. Could it be? Damn it. Could it be that without the Hongmeng purple chi, Poor Wei and the others really can't become saints? When the powerful figures saw that Taoist Mingi failed to prove his Tao, they didn't laugh at him even though they didn't have a good relationship with him. Instead, they sympathized with him. That day, the Tao ancestor once said that under the heavenly way, there were 8 saint positions. Under him there would be 6 saints born. Therefore, the Tao ancestor accepted the 3 pristines, Nuwa as his true disciple, and Jane and Juanti as his nominal disciples. He bestowed the 6 Hongmeng Qi and said that when the time came, they could become saints with it. To everyone, he just said that all the 3,000 great paths could become saints, and they had their own destinies. Then he dismissed them. Everyone was dissatisfied, but since the Tao ancestor didn't want to say more, they didn't dare to ask more. They could only hide their dissatisfaction in their hearts. Now, Nuwa had done the same thing and gained the same amount of merit. Due to the primordial violet chi in her body, she had become a saint. As for Mingi, he was only one step closer and reached the realm of sage to be. It seemed like a difference of one realm, but it was actually a world of difference. Such an unfair act made the powerful figures feel even more indignant. Shaking their heads, the powerful figures dispersed. So what if they were indignant? They couldn't change anything. Sigh. On the sun, Dong Huang Tai sighed and put down the Dong Huang bell in his hand. He was both happy and disappointed. If Taoist Mingi showed any signs of becoming a saint, Dong Huang Tai wouldn't hesitate to use the Dong Huang bell in his hand and kill Taoist Mingi the moment he was about to succeed. It wasn't that Tai was narrow-minded and couldn't tolerate Taoist Mingi, but the situation forced him to do so for the demon race. It was fine if Mingi didn't become a saint, but if he did, the Ashura race he created would instantly become a major force in the untainted land. How could the demon race deal with a race with a saint? If he wanted to fight for hegemony, the demon race would undoubtedly be the first to bear the brunt. In order to prevent this from happening, Tai could only kill and nip everything in the bud. With the help of external forces, even if he succeeds, how much combat power can he have? Closing his eyes, Tai fell into enlightenment. He wanted to use his own strength to break the limit of sage to be. Humph! Such a bloodthirsty person dares to dream of becoming a saint? Do you have any respect for Poor Wei and the others? On Mount Kunlun, seeing that Mingi failed to prove his path, Taoist Yu Qing's ugly face eased and said with hatred. This voice. It's ancestor Mingi. Did he create the Ashura race in the Blood Sea? Now, has the untainted land come to an end? Then it won't be long before the 3 pure ones become saints. On the ferocious beast battlefield, Feng Zichen was chatting with Kuafu and the others. Hearing Mingi's voice, he couldn't help but be stunned. Chapter 91. Oh no! Hearing this voice, Kuafu and the rest changed their expressions. They quickly said goodbye to Feng Zichen. My friend, there are changes in untainted land. We need to go back to our clan. Please excuse us. Without waiting for Feng Zichen's reply, the sorcerer tribe people showed their true forms and rushed to Pango Palace under Kuafu's lead. My friend, this is a serious matter. Poor Wei and the rest also need to return to Heavenly Court to understand the situation. As soon as the sorcerer tribe people left, Zhu Jian and the rest showed their demon forms and flew to Heavenly Court. Soon, all the experts left. Only Feng Zichen and a few ferocious beasts were left in the huge ferocious beasts battlefield. The war is over. I should leave too. With a thought, a purple cloud appeared under Feng Zichen's feet and lifted him to the sky, rushing toward the East Sea. The Ashura tribe created by Mingi Taoist seemed to be powerful, but in fact, it did not affect the whole untainted land. In untainted land, the demon tribe ruled the starry sky realm, the sorcerer tribe ruled the untainted land, and the dragon tribe occupied the 4 seas. There was no space for the Ashura tribe to live. The sorcerer tribe and the demon tribe ruled untainted land. Even many powerful figures did not dare to provoke them. Mingi alone could not compete with the 2 tribes. After the Ashura tribe appeared, they could only protect themselves by hiding in the Blood Sea. Otherwise, the sorcerer tribe and the demon tribe would not mind exterminating them to establish their power and deter the powerful figures. Old ancestor Mingi was also a top almighty of his generation. Looking at his life, it was simply tragic. Feng Zichen couldn't help but sigh for Taoist Mingi when he thought of the legends from later generations. Seeing that Nuwa became a saint, Mingi Taoist followed and created the Ashura tribe. Seeing that the three pure ones, Zhuanti and Jain, became saints, Mingi Taoist followed and created the Ashura sect. It was a pity that he did not have Hongming's purple qi. Although Mingi Taoist's strength had increased, he was still separated from the sage realm by a layer of fog. He could not see through it and could not touch it. Later on, Taoist Mingi was invited by ancestor Kuanping to ambush ancestor Hong Yun in order to seize his Hongmeng purple qi. However, who would have thought that this time, not only did he fail to snatch the Hongmeng purple aura, but he also incurred a lot of karma and was attacked into the depths of the blood sea by the Donghuang Tai, completely losing face. Later on, Hutu entered the cycle of reincarnation in the blood sea. Mingi, as the lord of the blood sea, occupied the destiny of an area and became the lord of the Azura realm. Initially, he thought that this was a good thing. However, the Buddhist sect had their eyes on the netherworld and wanted to occupy this place to spread their teachings. Naturally, this Taoist Mingi became a stumbling block. After the incident with Red Cloud, Patriarch Nether River learned a lesson and stayed in the Sea of Blood. He focused on managing his own land and no longer cared about the disputes in the primordial world. Unexpectedly, disaster came from the sky while he was at home. Taoist Mingi would never have thought that he would be attacked by the Buddhist sect while he was staying in the Sea of Blood. Under the attack of the two sages, Mingi and the Sea of Blood were directly suppressed and sealed. They completely faded out of the primordial world and never appeared again. Taoist Mingi's experience made Feng Zichen understand that if one wanted to survive in the primordial world, one could not hide blindly. If one did not look for trouble, trouble would come looking for one. If one wanted to live forever, one had to take the initiative to face the tribulation and find a chance of survival in the endless tribulations. Only then could one be free and unfettered. This time, the chaos of the ferocious beasts came from the chaos. It was beyond the expectations of many powerful figures and caught the primordial world off guard. Therefore, although the primordial world's clans suppressed the chaos of the ferocious beasts at the fastest speed, the destructive power of the ferocious beasts was too shocking. In just a few thousand years, it caused a lot of damage to the primordial world. The ferocious beasts are really a great enemy of the primordial world. It's a pity that no one can exterminate the ferocious beasts. On the purple cloud, Feng Zichen looked at the devastated land and was speechless for a moment. The purpose of the ferocious beast's existence was to destroy the primordial world and return it to the chaos. Most of the living beings in the primordial world knew about this, but they could not do anything to the ferocious beasts. As long as the primordial world was not destroyed, the ferocious beasts would not disappear. As long as the resentment in the world did not stop, the ferocious beasts would appear continuously and be killed endlessly. Therefore, every once in a while, a powerful figure would kill a group of ferocious beasts to prevent them from forming a large scale and creating chaos in the primordial world. However, they did not expect the ferocious beasts to come from the chaos this time, which disrupted the plans of the powerful figures. As he walked, Feng Zichen's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the clansmen he had chased out of the East Sea. Well, I wonder how the human immortals who are training outside are doing now? In order to prevent himself from being soft-hearted, Feng Zichen had blocked his perception of them after he had chased them out. He did not want to see their miserable state and could not help but help them. Now that the ferocious beasts had been quelled, Feng Zichen naturally thought of them. Thinking of this, Feng Zichen calmed his mind and followed the connection in the unseen world. He let his consciousness descend on the body of the divine Tao incarnation in Zichen's cave abode. In the next moment, the figure of the divine Tao incarnation flashed and arrived outside the Hall of Eternal Brightness. He strode in. Inside the Hall of Eternal Brightness, there were rows of lamp racks filled with eternal brightness lamps. However, compared to the usual brightly lit Hall of Eternal Brightness, the current Hall of Eternal Brightness was slightly dim. Most of the eternal brightness lamps on the lamp racks had been broken. There were also some eternal brightness lamps that only had a trace of flame left. They swayed with the wind and could be extinguished at any time. Only a few eternal brightness lamps were blooming and shining in all directions. When the eternal brightness lamp was broken, it meant that the corresponding person had unfortunately died. When the eternal brightness lamp dimmed, it meant that the corresponding person was seriously injured. When the eternal brightness lamp was unscathed, it meant that the corresponding person had safely survived this calamity. Sweeping his gaze across the hall of eternal brightness, there were not even 100 eternal brightness lamps that were still burning. This meant that the human immortals had suffered heavy casualties in this ferocious beast riot. Not even 100 of them had survived. Understanding this in his heart, Feng Zichen felt both heartache and anger. Those human immortals were born with the destiny of the human race. They had amazing talent and were the future of the human race. Now, they had died one after another in the ferocious beast riot. Although Feng Zichen had expected this, he still felt heartache when it came to it. At the same time, not even 100 of them had survived. In the entire history of the primordial world, apart from a human race, no other race had been able to achieve this. It was simply too embarrassing. How could Feng Zichen not be angry? Suppressing the various emotions in his heart and regaining his calm, Feng Zichen strode into the depths of the hall. As expected, in the center of the hall, Suiren sat there paralyzed with tears on his face. His entire body exuded a moving sadness. Emperor Sui. When he came in front of Suiren and saw that he was so sad, Feng Zichen could not say the words that he had originally wanted to say to persuade him. Zichen, you're here. You don't have to persuade me. When I gave that order, I had expected today's matter. I understand. Just let me be quiet. In the Hall of Eternal Brightness, Suiren saw that Feng Zichen wanted to say something but stopped. Chapter 92. The humanity of the ancestors' land has long been wiped out. All of them are immersed in peace and happiness. They don't know about sorrow or the dangers of the untainted land. This is my fault. Since the mistake has been made, the only way to make up for it is to be ruthless and rebuild the universe. These children's sacrifice was not in vain. Their deaths have reawakened the humanity of the untainted land. Because of this, the price paid by the untainted land will be worth it. Suiren's hoarse voice resounded within the dim hall, and it reverberated within the hall. It seemed that he was talking to Feng Zichen, but also to the broken almost everlasting lamps. Alas! It's a pity for these children. They were so young and had a long way to go in the future. But because of my order, they died prematurely. In the end, Suiren let out a long sigh. The sadness in his body became more intense. Emperor Sui. What's that? Feng Zichen was worried about Suiren's reaction. He was afraid that Suiren's mind would be hurt by the excessive sadness. When he was about to persuade Suiren, he saw that Suiren's body suddenly lit up. He could not help but exclaim in shock. The light was extremely bright but not dazzling. Instead, it was unusually gentle, as if it could warm people's hearts. With the rise of the light, Suiren seemed to have become a part of the universe and emitted the aura of the origin. Suiren waved his hand at the broken almost everlasting lamps. The power of the Great Way suddenly descended and distorted the void. Spots of light rose from the almost everlasting lamps and fell into his hands. Those were the untainted spirits of the dead clansmen. Suiren used the almost everlasting lamps and the blood of his clansmen as a guide to search the untainted land and forcibly capture the untainted spirits of his clansmen. With these untainted spirits, they may be able to come back one day in the future. Suiren put away the untainted spirits and muttered to himself expectantly. This power of the Great Way, it's Daluo Jingxian, Emperor Sui. Has he entered the Daluo realm? Feng Zichen was pleasantly surprised when he felt the aura of transcendence. Tai Jingxian would never be able to manipulate the void as Suiren did. Only Daluo Jingxian, who regarded time and space as a toy, could do that. Zichen, I wish to go into seclusion in the ancestral temple and complete the realm of Daluo Jingxian. Second younger brother, third younger sister, please protect me. While I'm in seclusion, I'll leave the human race to you. As he spoke, the light on Suiren's body became even brighter. Precepts of heaven and earth manifested around him. The aura of the Great Path permeated the air, and a vast pressure enveloped the surroundings. Under this power, Feng Zichen's divine incarnation began to distort. It was unable to withstand the power from Suiren's body, and was about to collapse. All right. Feng Zichen nodded with difficulty. The divine incarnation of Feng Zichen suddenly shattered, turning into wisps of incense and dissipating into the void. Ha! With a chuckle, Suiren's figure flashed and he entered the ancestral temple. In the distance, wisps of incense emerged from the void and reformed Fengzichen's appearance. The divine incarnation was intangible. Even if it was shattered, it could reform at any time as long as the incense were not extinguished. He's already so powerful before becoming a real Daluo. How powerful will the real Daluo Jingxian be? Fengzichen took a deep look at the ancestral temple, then turned and left to deal with the affairs of the human race. In the east of Untainted Land, Fengzichen learned about the situation of the human race from the divine incarnation. He no longer traveled leisurely. He immediately put away the purple cloud, escaped into the void, and hurried toward the East Sea. However, halfway there, the chaos bead suddenly changed. It trembled violently, and a gray light shone around it. It evolved into a divine diagram of the Great Tao and sealed off the surrounding space. This is the Chaos Formation. What's going on? It's been several years since the Dire Beast riot. Why would someone use the Chaos Formation? Surprised, Fengzichen hurriedly looked into the Chaos Bead. The void inside the Chaos Bead shook for a moment, and an image appeared. Wild beasts. Hundreds of primordial wild beasts were madly attacking a huge city. The giant city was enveloped by a curtain of chaotic light, keeping the dire beasts outside the city. However, under the frenzied attacks of the dire beasts, the curtain of chaotic light kept trembling, as if it was about to shatter. Hundreds of human golden immortals stood on the city walls. They were constantly using their divine abilities to attack the dire beasts below, trying to force them to retreat. There were also 3 Tai Jingxian of the human race who summoned the Swearin Lantern. Towering waves of fire swept across the sky, burning a group of dire beasts. That's E-City. But how can this be? Weren't the Tai Jingxian level dire beasts all wiped out? Moreover, even if there were some left out, there shouldn't be so many Tai dire beasts. What's going on? Although he was very puzzled, Fengzichen's hands did not slow down. A vast amount of magic power surged out and poured into the chaos bead. In an instant, the 5 elements divine diagram appeared. As the 5 elements chi filled the air, the power of the chaos formation skyrocketed. The trembling curtain of chaotic light immediately stabilized. Let's go! With a loud shout, a passage suddenly appeared in the void, leading directly to E-City. Seeing that the passage was formed, Fengzichen did not dare to delay. His figure flashed and entered. Then the passage slowly closed. What happened? Why did the power of the formation suddenly increase? At E-City, the sudden change in the chaos formation immediately attracted the attention of the 3 Tai Jingxian. It's the Zichen clan. This formation was set up by him. Only he can increase the power of the formation from a distance. In a flash, Eong figured out the reason why the formation became stronger. Since the Zichen clan increased the power of the formation, they must have noticed the change. Thinking of this, Eong was excited and quickly shouted to the crowd. Everyone, hold on for a while longer. The Zichen clan has already noticed the change in the formation. It won't be long before the clan's reinforcements arrive. We will be saved. Sure enough, as soon as Eang's voice fell, the morale of the crowd was boosted. The power of their divine powers increased. However, these humans were only golden immortals. Their divine powers could only tickle the Tai-level dire beasts. Primal Chaos Formation, Transform. Sitting cross-legged in the center of the formation, Eong formed a seal with his hands and injected a vast amount of dermic powers into the formation. Rumbling, countless Dao runes appeared in the void around them. Streams of connate chi gushed out from the runes and flowed rapidly in a chaotic manner. Go! Eong ordered. The connate chi stopped flowing and merged into the bodies of the crowd to strengthen them. In the next moment, although the cultivation level of the crowd did not increase, the power of their divine powers increased sharply. When they hit the dire beasts' flesh was torn open and they howled in pain. It shouldn't be a problem to last for more than a month. By then, the Zichen clan should be here. Eong thought as he activated the formation. Chapter 93. Alas! I'm so unlucky. After the ferocious beast riot, the Eong clan was planning to reward everyone to celebrate their success in surviving the disaster. However, as soon as the battlefield was cleared, a Tai Jingxian level ferocious beast roared and rushed towards them. Although the Tai-level ferocious beast was strong, the Tai-level ferocious beast was not weak, and they had many people. The Tai-level ferocious beast was killed before it could cause any trouble. After the ferocious beast riot, it did not mean that there were no more ferocious beasts in the untainted land. It was just that most of the ferocious beasts were killed by the untainted land experts. Therefore, the Eong clan did not pay much attention to the appearance of the ferocious beast in E City. They just thought that it was passing by. After killing the ferocious beast, they returned to the city and continued to prepare for the celebration. However, what happened next was completely out of the Eong clan's expectation. Roar, roar, roar. In a series of shocking roars, ferocious beasts rushed from afar one after another. There were no less than 10,000 of them, and their leaders were hundreds of Tai-level ferocious beasts. These ferocious beasts first surrounded E City, not giving the people a chance to escape, and then attacked wildly. Just like that, a great battle broke out without any warning. With the foundation of E City, if there were no Tai-level ferocious beasts, they could kill these ferocious beasts without using the Chaos Formation. However, under the attack of hundreds of Tai-level ferocious beasts, even with the protection of the Chaos Formation, E City seemed to be in danger. Before Feng Zichen discovered the change in E City had been fighting with the ferocious beasts outside the city for several years. The reason why there were only hundreds of Tai-level ferocious beasts outside the city was that the rest of the ferocious beasts had been killed by the people of E City. Therefore, the people of E City were exhausted and could not hold on any longer. If it were not for Feng Zichen's sudden attack to strengthen the power of the Chaos Formation, E City would have been breached by the ferocious beasts just now. Boom! With a massive boom, the entire primal chaos array began to violently shake. With a series of cracking sounds, a massive crack appeared on the primal chaos light screen. Eong, who was at the center of the formation, grunted and coughed up a mouthful of blood. He was clearly injured. What? That's half-step Daluo. This aura can't be wrong. It's definitely a half-step Daluo level beast. But weren't ferocious beasts of this level killed? Ignoring his injuries, Eong quickly looked forward and saw a beast covered in scales and spikes. It raised its huge claw and slammed at the chaotic light screen. The giant claws were filled with a murderous aura. They were like sharp blades that cut through the void and shattered the great path. They slammed into the screen of light. Even the screen of light could not withstand this force. As it shook violently, cracks appeared on it. Why? Why are they here? Are the heavens trying to destroy our clan? Eong looked at the ferocious beast and felt that it was impossible to defeat. A sense of helplessness rose in his heart as he lowered his head in dejection. No, I cannot give up. I have so many people to protect. Even if I die, I will drag it down with me. I will fight for a way out for my people. Looking down, he saw the ordinary people hiding in the city. Seeing their expectant faces, Eong felt a strong sense of unwillingness in his heart. That unwillingness was like a ball of raging fire that burned fiercely, igniting his entire being. Primal Chaos Array, rise. With a roar, Eong channeled all of his spiritual energy into the Primal Chaos Array. In an instant, the Primal Chaos Array shook violently. Endless Dao runes intertwined, and 9 connate Dao diagrams appeared one by one. They layered on top of each other to form a divine diagram of the Great Path. At the same time, various colors of connate chi gushed out and entered Yang's body. His aura skyrocketed as he stepped into the half-step Daluo level. Die, you filthy beast! Knowing that he couldn't stay in this state for long, Eong decided to end the battle quickly. He grabbed the diagram of the Great Path and charged at the half-step Daluo beast. The diagram of the Great Path trembled, and tens of thousands of strands of connate chi gushed out, turning into a long river that swept towards the ferocious beast. Roar! The ferocious beast roared, and black light appeared around its body. Connate baleful chi spread out and covered its entire body, entangling with the river of chi. Eong wasn't angered by this. He shook the diagram of the Great Path again, and one of the connate 5 elemental Dao diagrams shone brightly. The connate 5 elemental Dao diagram was strengthened by the connate 5 elemental ring. It was the most powerful of the 9 diagrams that made up the diagram of the Great Path. As its power exploded, the 5 elemental chi that flowed in the Yuan Chi River immediately changed. It turned into rays of innate divine light that hit the ferocious beast's body, creating a hole in the innate killing intent that enveloped its body. The river of qi flowed through the hole to the ferocious beast's body, eroding its flesh. Wherever the river passed, the ferocious beast's flesh was melted away, revealing deep white bones. Roar! The ferocious beast howled in pain and struggled madly. More connate baleful qi emerged, causing the black light on its body to darken even more. In the sizzling sound, the connate baleful qi and the river of qi clashed on the ferocious beast's body, canceling each other out. The power generated by the entanglement of the two acted on the ferocious beast's body, causing its pain to intensify. Xianxia didn't let it go. He made a series of hand seals, and as Taoist rhyme swirled around, dark clouds gathered above the ferocious beast, and the 5 elemental thunder flashed among them. This was the 5 elemental thunder of the heavenly 36 transformations. The 5 elemental thunder was the divine thunder of the 5 thunders, and it specialized in killing. Rumble! In the dark clouds, bolts of 5 elemental thunder struck the ferocious beast's body with murderous intent, charring it black all over. The ferocious beast's injuries stimulated the ferocious beast's bloodline. Red light flashed in its eyes, and its aura surged. A dark yellow halo slowly rose from its body, expelling the river of qi and destroying the 5 elemental thunder. This ferocious beast can control the power of the earth? The dark yellow halo was a mixture of connate qi and connate baleful qi. Apart from controlling connate baleful qi, this ferocious beast could also control connate qi. Humph! With such a heavy injury, it's useless no matter how much power it uses. Xianxia snorted coldly. He raised the great Tao divine picture and slammed it towards the ferocious beast. Kill it while it's weak. Now that the ferocious beast was injured and its strength had dropped, it was the best opportunity to kill it. Xianxia wouldn't miss it. But just as the great Tao divine picture was about to hit the ferocious beast, something happened. Chapter 94. Boom, boom, boom. Outside of City, a few Tai-level beasts suddenly exploded, turning into balls of innate baleful qi that merged into the giant beast's body. With the help, the giant beast's weakened aura surged again. Dense innate baleful qi surged, and the dark light on its body became even brighter. As the dark light flowed, the giant beast's flesh and blood were regenerated. In the blink of an eye, the giant beast's injuries were all healed. Under the cover of the dark yellow light, the giant beast waved its giant claws and clashed with a divine picture of Tao. Hong long long, the innate baleful qi exploded and sent the divine picture of Tao flying away. Pooh! After knocking away the divine diagram of the Great Path, the giant beast suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a large patch of dark yellow light that went straight for Xianxia. Countless mountains emerged from the dark yellow light and formed an endless mountain range. The mountains were huge and they surrounded Xianxia clan and City behind him. They pressed down and tried to destroy the entire City. Oh no! Xianxia was shocked. The series of changes happened so fast that he couldn't even react. He had the upper hand a moment ago, but the next moment, he was at a disadvantage. Swearin lantern rise. Seeing the mountains pressing down, Xianxia's eyes were filled with determination. He summoned the Swearin lantern from the fate of the human race. In an instant, golden rays appeared, red flames appeared, and the light of civilization spread out. Lights flew out from the Swearin lantern and connected in the sky above City, blocking the mountains that pressed down. Xianxia, incinerating everything. In the sizzling sound, the mountains formed by the innate baleful qi were melted by Xianxia before they could explode. They turned into plumes of dark smoke and dispersed into the void. Pooh! Pooh! The giant beast was annoyed by the failure of the innate baleful qi. Its baleful qi rolled and it spat out 2 rays of dark light. The dark light was formed by the purest innate baleful qi. Its power was terrifying, destroying the space and destroying the order. It flooded towards City. Xianxia pointed at himself, and the light of the human Tao flashed. Xianxia appeared and waved his hand. The divine picture of Tao flew back to his hand. As it shook, the innate qi fell, and the 5 elements divine light was hidden in it, clashing with the innate baleful qi. Kill! Knowing that the longer the battle dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him, Xianxia mustered all of his arcane energy and used the divine diagram of the great Tao as a weapon. He cast the sword skill of Heavenly Cycle and charged towards the giant beast. With a sweep of the divine picture of the Great Path, the connate qi suddenly changed and formed several sword formations, trapping the giant beast firmly. Vast sword qi shot out and cut open wounds on the giant beast's body, causing blood and flesh to splatter everywhere. Roar! The giant beast was in great pain and went berserk. Its eyes turned blood red and innate baleful qi gushed out from its body. The wounds on its body healed and its strength increased by a few notches. Chaotic runes appeared on the beast's scales, greatly increasing its defensive power. The Xiantian sword qi hit its body, but it could no longer cause any damage to it. Bang! 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 The bone spikes on the giant beast's body suddenly emitted a black light, and a sharp aura soared into the sky, shattering the oncoming Xiantian sword qi. Roar! With a roar, chaotic runes danced on the giant beast's body. Innate baleful qi spread out and rammed around the sword formation. Wherever it passed, large patches of Xiantian sword qi were shattered. Under the giant beast's ramming, the sword formation could not withstand the force. It shook violently and huge cracks appeared. No matter how hard Yang tried to repair it, he could not stop the sword formation from shattering. In the end, the sword formation of the heavenly cycle shattered with a loud roar. With the sword formation destroyed, Yang, who was connected to it, immediately suffered a backlash. His face turned pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, his mind was injured and his aura had dropped significantly. After the giant beast shattered the sword formation, its blood-red eyes stared at Yang. Murderous intent filled the air and its heart was filled with hatred. With a gasp, it pounced towards Yang. Even though his mind was injured and his strength dropped, Yang was still fearless in the face of the giant beast's attack. With the Swerin lantern above his head, he wore a black robe and held the Great Tao Divine Diagram in his hand. He leaped forward and fought with the beast. The giant beast roared and its Xiantian baleful qi surged, turning into a huge wave that swept out in all directions. There was also Xiantian qi that spewed out, turning into endless mountains that suppressed the void. Yang shook the Great Tao Divine Diagram and the Xiantian qi fell down, turning into a flood of creatures that crashed into the endless mountains. The Swerin lantern glowed and sprinkled down, turning into a monstrous flame that burned towards the Xiantian baleful qi. The two fought back and forth, using all kinds of skills. It was an intense battle. As they clashed, the shockwave spread out, collapsing layers of the void and shattering the earth. The surrounding beasts fled in all directions. However, Yang was injured after all. Such an intense battle made things worse for him. It didn't take long before he couldn't hold on any longer and gradually fell into a disadvantage. Not good. Swerin lantern, rise. Seeing that Yang was losing, the people on the city walls were anxious. They quickly summoned their Swerin lanterns and attacked the giant beast. Boom! The void shuddered and hundreds of Swerin lanterns appeared, resonating with the Swerin lantern above Yang's head. As the lanterns flickered, the human Tao light merged together and shone brightly. The hundreds of Swerin lanterns were activated at the same time and the Xianxia grew stronger. The Xiantian baleful qi that could resist the Xiantian baleful qi was ignited by the Xianxia and the fire spread to the giant beast. City Lord, we are here to help you. Swerin lantern, rise. When the ordinary people in the city saw the Swerin lanterns being summoned, they were shocked. They shouted and summoned the Swerin lanterns as well, wanting to help the Yang clan. Light dots rose from their hearts and merged with the human race's fate. In the sky above City, they turned into thousands of Swerin lanterns. They were bright and dark in different sizes, but they all shone with the light of civilization and lit up the void. With the Swerin lanterns activated, the Xianhua's power grew stronger and stronger, burning the giant beast until it howled in pain. Roar! Yang had the help of the people and the giant beast had the help of the beasts. The beasts roared and the Tai beasts exploded one after another, turning into Xiantian baleful qi that surged into the giant beast's body to help it resist the Xianhua. Victory for the humans! Seeing this, the people roared and Wan Zhiqing activated the Swerin lantern with all his might. He wanted to kill the giant beast before it recovered. With the unity of the people, the faith of the human Tao gushed out and triggered an unknown power. Under this power, the Swerin lanterns trembled and finally, they merged together and turned into a huge Swerin lantern. The Swerin lantern was as bright as the sun, illuminating the great thousand worlds with the light of civilization and the light of the human Tao. Chapter 95. Specks of torch flame flew out from the Swerin lamp, carrying an undying will. They ignited the void, ignited the great Tao, and ignited everything they encountered. Even the innate baleful qi was ignited by the kindling lock. As the innate baleful qi burned, the beast's body became smaller and smaller. Once the innate baleful qi was burned out, the beast would die. The innate baleful qi was ignited by the kindling fire before it could even touch the beast's body. It became fuel for the burning beast, hastening its death. How can this be? Yang didn't feel relieved at all after suppressing the beast. Instead, it became heavier. An ominous feeling rose in his heart, making him feel uneasy. A cultivator's spiritual sense wouldn't appear for no reason. It was a kind of enhancement for the future. Once it appeared, it would indicate something. Now, the ominous feeling shrouded his heart. It was definitely not a good thing. Everyone be careful. As time passed, the uneasiness in Yang's heart grew stronger and stronger. He couldn't help but warn them. As soon as his voice fell, two huge auras rose in the distance. They were moving quickly towards City. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of them. Thick limbs, huge bodies, scaled armor, and barbed spikes. Their appearance and aura were exactly the same as the half-step Daluo level beasts in the kindling lock. Two half-step Daluo level beasts. Yang's pupils shrank when he saw the two beasts. He couldn't help but feel despair. What happened? The beast riot is over. Why are there still such strong beasts coming out? Does the heavens really want our clan to die? A single half-step golden immortal realm ferocious beast had already caused everyone in City to go all out before they were barely able to resist it. Now that another two had arrived, they didn't have any extra strength to resist these two ferocious beasts. Pang! Pang! The two beasts came in front of the chaos light screen, raised their huge claws, and slammed it down. In order to deal with the previous beast, the Yang clan had taken away most of the Chaos Array's power, causing the Chaos Light Screen's power to drop drastically. With a cracking sound, the two half-step Daluo-level vicious beasts continued to attack. The curtain of light was greatly weakened, and after shaking for a moment, it shattered, exposing the people of City to the vicious beasts. Under the enormous pressure of the ferocious beasts, those humans at the heavenly immortal realm and mysterious immortal realm were utterly unable to endure it, and they felt terror that came from the bottom of their hearts. All of them collapsed on the ground while their bodies trembled without end. Whoosh! As the giant beast breathed, it spat out two streams of air. Like a violent gale, it blew everyone away. Houses collapsed and City was in a mess. Roar! The two ferocious beasts opened their mouths and roared. Their bodies glowed with black light and innate baleful qi billowed out in all directions, forming a black ocean that surged towards City, wanting to drown everyone. Bastard! No! Yang, who was watching from afar, was enraged. However, he was held back by the giant beast and couldn't rush back to help. He could only watch as the innate baleful qi attacked the crowd. His eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The innate baleful qi was powerful and extremely vicious. Those below the Daluo Xianxia could not touch it easily. Most of the people in City were heavenly immortals and mysterious immortals. How could they resist the innate baleful qi? If they were touched by it, death would be the only outcome. Bastard, how dare you! Just as the innate baleful qi was about to touch the people, Feng Zichen suddenly appeared in the void. Without hesitation, Feng Zichen immediately mobilized all of his dermic powers and took out the chaos bead. In an instant, a gray light flashed and the chaos bead floated in mid-air, freezing the space within 1,000,000 miles. In City, despair appeared on the faces of the people. They stood there motionless. Not far in front of them, the innate baleful qi turned into a black ocean and froze there. Suiren Deng, the Yang clan, the burning Xianxia, and the three half-step Daluo-level ferocious beasts were also frozen in place. Under the effect of the chaos bead, time within 1,000,000 miles stopped and everything fell into a standstill. Other than Feng Zichen and the chaos bead, everything else was frozen in place, motionless. As a former chaos treasure, even if it was broken, it still had supreme power. In the chaos it could suppress a part of the chaos. In the untainted land, it could suppress endless space. Fortunately, I'm not too late. Looking at what was happening in front of him, Feng Zichen was terrified. If he had come a little later, the whole City would have been destroyed. These bastards, they really deserve to die. Glancing at the ferocious beasts, Feng Zichen's eyes were full of murderous intent. He suddenly reached out and grabbed at the void. Furious, Feng Zichen did not show any mercy. He grabbed at the void and the innate chi within 1,000 miles was all grabbed by him and poured into the chaos bead. Bas! With a slight tremble, the chaos bead emitted a black light. The chaos Tao patterns intertwined and formed a scene of the great Tao. In the next moment, the void within 1,000 miles was shattered. The earth, fire, water, and wind came out together. The chaos chi surged and shrouded the void. Not long after, the chaos chi receded and the earth, fire, water, and wind disappeared. The void returned to normal and time began to flow again. Everything returned to normal except for the 3 ferocious beasts. After time and space returned to normal, the Yong clan's memory was still stuck at the moment when the ferocious beasts attacked the people of City. He did not know anything about Feng Zichen killing the ferocious beasts. Therefore, he was worried about the people and decided to fight to the death. Ah! You will all die with me. With a roar, the Yong clan used a secret method to burn his profound chi. Suddenly, his aura skyrocketed. But he was still not satisfied. He made a gesture and the divine picture of the great Tao shattered and turned into innate chi that flowed into the Yong clan's body. Rumble! The Yong clan's aura soared to the sky and reached the limit of Tai Jingxian. But he was only in the middle stage of Tai Jingxian. How could he withstand such power? With a cracking sound, his body was covered with cracks like porcelain. It was as if he would break at any time. Oh no, he's going to self-destruct. The Yong clan's action was too fast. He completed all the steps in a flash. When Feng Zichen noticed the movement, it was too late to stop him. Damn it, fall! Feng Zichen made a gesture with his hands and cast the stellar transposition. An invisible rhythm spread in all directions. In an instant, time and space reversed, heaven and earth were turned upside down, and all things were reversed. The Yong clan's aura kept falling and the cracks on his body disappeared. The innate chi flew out of his body and turned into the divine picture of the great Tao again. Everything returned to what it was a moment ago. Chapter 96. Arg! All of you die with me! Yong roared as he burned all of his chi essence in an attempt to perish together with the beasts. The reason why Feng Zichen cast the shifting stars technique was to save Yong. How could he let Yong self-destruct and sacrifice himself for nothing? Tut! He pointed at the divine picture of Tao and the picture trembled as it flew out from Yang's hand and turned into a divine chain that suppressed him. Yong, please calm down. Coming to Yong, Feng Zichen channeled the innate Yi-Wood Qi to calm the agitated arcane energy in Yang's body. Zichen clan, thank you. When the agitated arcane energy in his body calmed down, Yong immediately knew that City's crisis was over. He forced himself to stay awake and thanked Feng Zichen. Then, he closed his eyes and fell into a coma. Yong was relieved when he heard that the crisis was over. The injuries he accumulated from the battle with the beasts exploded at the same time. Strands of chi of death rose from his body, indicating that he was not far from death. Feng Zichen waved his sleeves, and endless green light filled the air, turning into the shape of the green dragon. It was clear and unruffled. It was neither near nor far, and it was full of hidden changes, exuding a vast vitality. Go! Pointing his finger, the azure dragon roared and rushed into Yang's body. In an instant, the chi of death in Yang's body was replaced by vitality. Bright green light rose from his body and formed into a green light cocoon that wrapped around him. Seeing that the Yong tribe was out of danger and was developing in a good direction, Feng Zichen let out a sigh of relief. He turned around and walked into City to comfort the confused people who didn't know what had happened. In the city lord's mansion, Feng Zichen was puzzled. He asked Yong, who had just recovered, Yong, what happened? Why are there so many beasts around City? Sigh. Yong sighed and said with a wry smile, I don't know either. These beasts seem to have appeared out of nowhere. They suddenly appeared near City and attacked us crazily. If it wasn't for your chaos array formation, City would have been destroyed by them. That's strange. During the beast riot, there weren't so many beasts attacking City. On the other hand, 3 half-step great heavenly realm ferocious beasts came out to attack City after the ferocious beast rampage ended. You guys are really unlucky. Feng Zichen shook his head in confusion. That's right. Compared to the damage caused by the beasts, the beast riot is nothing. Yong nodded to express his bad luck after hearing Feng Zichen's. They thought that the beast riot would be dangerous, but it didn't even stir up the slightest wave. Yong didn't even use the trump cards they had prepared. But they didn't expect that when they were celebrating, a group of fierce beasts would suddenly appear and almost wipe them out even when they had used all their cards. The Yong clan only felt that they were extremely unlucky. Forget it. Let's not talk about it. Fortunately, Zichen, you came in time. Although East City was damaged, no one was hurt too much. It's a blessing in a misfortune. Yong stood up and solemnly bowed to Feng Zichen. On behalf of everyone, Yong thanks Zichen for saving our lives. Feng Zichen came in front of Yong and stopped him from bowing. Yong, you and I have known each other for many years. You don't have to be so formal. Haha, you're right. I can't thank you enough. If you need anything in the future, just say the word and I will help you. Yong smiled and promised. You. Oh no. Just as he was about to say something, Feng Zichen's face suddenly changed. With a roar, he took a step forward and came to the sky above East City. The next moment, Yong, who was still wondering what had happened, suddenly felt several terrifying auras in the distance. His face changed drastically and he hurriedly followed Feng Zichen's footsteps. Millions of miles away, monstrous evil qi rose into the sky, forming a black cloud that covered the sky. Faint roars of beasts could be heard coming from within. They were rushing towards East City. 1, 2, 3. 9. Hiss. 9 half-step Daluo-level dire beasts. Yong, tell me the truth. Did you dig out the nest of the dire beasts? Otherwise, how could there be so many dire beasts? Even on the main battlefield, when the dire beasts and the experts of all races fought each other crazily, I did not see 9 half-step Daluo-level dire beasts attacking one place. Today, my horizons have been broadened by your presence. In the sky above East City, Feng Zichen looked at the 9 black pillars in the distance and was speechless. He could not help but tease Yong beside him. You're still joking at a time like this. With that, Yong hurriedly turned around and walked towards the city. With their speed, it will take the time to brew a cup of tea to reach East City. We can take advantage of this time to leave this place and escape to the East Sea. There is a barrier set up by the Holy Mother. As long as we get there, these dire beasts are nothing to be afraid of. Haha, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Watch me. With a laugh, Feng Zichen pulled Yong back and walked out of the city. Walking toward the 9 ferocious beasts alone, Feng Zichen felt a sense of pride. He waved his sleeve, and with a rumble, the earth veins in all directions surged. The matrix of chaos suddenly opened and turned into a divine picture of the Great Path, falling into his hand. As the owner of the chaos bead, Feng Zichen personally controlled the chaos array. Its power was several times stronger than when Yong was controlling it. He suddenly pulled open the divine picture of the Great Tao. A hazy gray light flashed, and the Chaos Tao runes rushed into the sky. Suddenly, the Chaos Chi swept in all directions. The void shattered, and time and space no longer existed. Everything within 100,000 miles returned to chaos. Roar! With a loud roar, the 9 dire beasts were not afraid of the Chaos Chi. They rushed into the Chaos domain and went straight for Feng Zichen. Humph, you're courting death. With a cold snort, Feng Zichen shook his hand. The Khanate Chi within a radius of 10,000 miles was instantly emptied and poured into the divine picture of the Great Tao. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the violent vibrations, the divine picture of the Great Tao suddenly changed. Rays of divine light bloomed, and the Khanate Tao pictures flew out and fell into the chaos domain. Rumble! It was as if heaven and earth were splitting open. A ray of Khanate light cut open the chaos domain, separating the clear from the turbid, and creating the 2 elements. Endless Khanate Chi surged out and evolved into a vast world. Although the 9 dire beasts were strong, the power to split open heaven and earth was mighty. How vast was it? The momentum of splitting open the heavens rolled forward. Who could stop it? Under the scouring of the Khanate Chi, the 9 dire beasts were turned into balls of origin Chi in just a moment, becoming nutrients for the world. Return! Seeing this, Feng Zichen shook the divine picture of the Great Tao again. The vast world shattered into 9 connate Dao pictures and returned to his hand. Chapter 97. Hiss. So powerful. Yong looked at Feng Zichen in horror. Any one of the 9 ominous beasts could easily destroy Yi City, not to mention all of them. However, such powerful ominous beasts could not resist Feng Zichen at all. How terrifying was his strength. Zichen, you deserve to be called the first genius of the human tribe. How long have you been promoted to the Tai Jingxian? You have such terrifying strength. I'm afraid that even the geniuses of the shaman and demon tribe are far inferior to you. Yong could not help but praise him. You flatter me. The shaman and demon tribe are born with great fortune and are naturally powerful. I can't compare with them. Feng Zichen smiled and said modestly, Zichen, we can't stay in East City anymore. I plan to take my people back to the East Sea. After a rest, we will find a new place and rebuild the city. Seeing Feng Zichen being so modest, Yong did not praise him anymore. Instead, she changed the topic and told him her plan. The appearance of the 9 ominous beasts completely frightened Yong. This place was so strange. If a few more ominous beasts appeared after Feng Zichen left, everyone in East City would be doomed. It was better to leave as soon as possible. You are the lord of East City. As long as you are willing to leave, I have no objection. Feng Zichen nodded and understood Yong. From time to time, a few half-step Daluo-level ominous beasts would appear. No one would be able to sleep peacefully here. Yong wanted to leave, but it was also in the process of cleaning up. Good. I will immediately gather my people and leave. With a decision in her heart, Yong immediately took action. She summoned everyone to the Lord's mansion to discuss the migration. Everyone in East City was a cultivator, so they packed quickly. If they wanted to take something, they could just stuff it into their storage magic treasures. It was really convenient and fast. Therefore, in less than half a day, everyone packed their bags and walked out of East City in a grandiose manner, intending to migrate back to the East Sea. Zichen, do you want to leave with us? Outside of East City, Yong asked Feng Zichen. Feng Zichen shook his head and refused. No, I'm very curious about the origin of these vicious beasts. I plan to investigate and see where they came from. When he thought of the origin of the ferocious beasts, his heart throbbed as if there was something waiting for him there. There must be a reason for the sudden impulse. Feng Zichen naturally had to investigate. All right, then be careful. Yong took one last look at Yi Cheng before turning around and walking away. The reluctance in her eyes was completely replaced by determination. Looking at Yang's back, Feng Zichen had an idea. With a wave of his sleeve, the chaos array flew out and landed in Yang's hand. It's a long journey from here to the East Sea. I don't know how dangerous it will be. With the chaos array, it can protect your safety along the way. I can rest assured. Moreover, when you rebuild East City in the future, you will need the array to protect it. Giving you the chaos array now saves me the trouble of making a trip in the future. Seeing Yang's puzzled expression, Feng Zichen explained to her. Thank you. Yong put away the chaos array, bowed with a fist salute, and left with the others on a cloud. A moment later, after watching Yong and the others leave, Feng Zichen's figure flashed and rushed to the place where the 9 vicious beasts appeared. It's not here. Appearing from the void, Feng Zichen scanned the surroundings with his divine sense. Except for the residual evil qi in the air, there was nothing unusual. It's really strange. The vicious beasts clearly came from here, but there's nothing unusual here. It's really puzzling. After scanning again with his divine sense, Feng Zichen still found nothing unusual. He could not help but frown. No. As he muttered to himself, Feng Zichen rose to the sky. His eyes flashed, and everything within a radius of 1,000,000 miles was reflected in his eyes. This was the Heavenly Spirit 36 transformations, which allowed one to see through the 3 realms. One could see the life and death of all living beings in the world, as well as all kinds of things in the world. It could observe fate and even see through all illusions. It could also shoot out divine light to hurt the enemy. It's not here, it's not there. Why are there so many? How many vicious beasts were born around here? In Feng Zichen's eyes, there were no less than a dozen places within 1,000,000 miles that were filled with evil qi. Unfortunately, these areas were completely empty. The ferocious beasts inside had long since run off to God knows where. Ah, what is that? Feng Zichen exclaimed softly. His heart skipped a beat as he came to a place filled with baleful qi. This place was different from other places. The innate evil qi was not thin, but extremely dense, which shocked Feng Zichen. And in the middle of the evil qi, there was innate turbid qi. As the two intertwined, a mysterious change occurred, and it created a chance of creation, causing the innate turbid qi to faintly emit fluctuations of life. A vague beast shadow gradually took shape, and its appearance was the same as the vicious beast that attacked Yi City. Is this how the ferocious beasts that attacked Yi City were born? Seeing this, Feng Zichen understood the use of the connate murderous qi. However, after his old doubts were solved, a new doubt surfaced in his mind. Where did this mass of innate murderous qi come from? After thinking for a while, Feng Zichen mobilized his mana, and a purple light rose from his body. The Hongmeng celestial light shot out and penetrated the innate turbid qi. Roar! Vaguely, a vague beast roar was heard, and the innate turbid qi rumbled and attacked Feng Zichen. Stretching out his index finger, Feng Zichen used his finger as a pen, the Hongmeng qi as ink, and the void as paper. He kept writing. As he moved, runes appeared in the void, carrying the aura of the Great Way. They met the innate turbid qi and suppressed it. Those were Taoist runes, which were created by Feng Zichen himself. They contained the power of the Great Way, mysterious and unpredictable, and had all kinds of incredible abilities. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At first, under the suppression of the Taoist runes, the innate turbid qi struggled and almost broke out. But as the number of Taoist runes increased, the suppression power continued to increase, and the innate turbid qi gradually became obedient, turning into a dark yellow light ball and remaining motionless. Come! With a gentle wave of his hand, the Taoist runes wrapped in the innate turbid qi flew into Feng Zichen's hand. Today, I'd like to see who on earth is playing tricks and creating vicious beasts everywhere. As he spoke, Feng Zichen suddenly performed a Dharma incantation. His Taoist rhyme swirled around him, and the Taoist runes shook with a loud rumble. A tyrannical refining power suddenly surged toward the primordial evil qi. In the sizzling sound, the origin of the innate turbid qi was constantly refined by the Taoist runes, turning into wisps of essence qi, and scattered into the untainted land. Chapter 98. The loss of the origin caused the connate murderous qi to gradually shrink. In the end, the connate murderous qi completely disappeared, leaving only a trace of an inexplicable aura that emitted a terrifying aura. This aura is so familiar. I think I've seen it somewhere before. After thinking for a while, Feng Zichen separated a wisp of his divine sense and probed towards the aura, intending to trace its origin. Rumble! A vast and boundless earth appeared. In Feng Zichen's divine sense, the tiny aura suddenly became huge. The earthy yellow aura rolled endlessly, as if it was a world of earthy yellow. That was the origin of Earth, the origin of the Earth. That inexplicable aura was connected to the origin of Earth, allowing Feng Zichen to see a trace of the true meaning of the great Tao of Earth. In the deepest part of the origin of Earth, there was a ball of brilliant light. The light was gentle and illuminated all things, emitting an aura that carried all things. The aura of creation circulated, as if it could breed all things. The aura of the great Tao on its body was incomparably dense, describing all kinds of great Tao mysteries. It was the beginning and the end of the great Tao of Earth. Everything about the great Tao of Earth could be answered from it. This is the aura of the chaos demon god. The aura of the great Tao of Earth was more powerful, noble, and profound than the aura of Hutu that Feng Zichen felt in the depths of his bloodline. There was also a tyrannical aura mixed in it. Hutu was formed by Panga's blood essence, nurtured by the connate murderous qi, born with the great Tao of Earth, and born with the ability to control the laws of Earth. In the untainted land, only the chaos demon god, born with the will of the great Tao, could be nobler and more powerful than such an existence. Oh no, retreat quickly! Knowing that the chaos demon god was not to be trifled with, Feng Zichen extinguished the aura with his divine sense and flew away, not daring to pursue it any further. However, before Feng Zichen could leave, a sudden change occurred. With a rumble, the earth shook violently, like waves on the surface of water, up and down. Thick, Turbid chi of the earth that was mixed with connate killing intent gushed out of the ground and spread in all directions towards him. At the same time, a mighty and majestic aura descended, causing the surrounding void to instantly freeze and the great path to stop operating. Just as Feng Zichen took half a step forward, he felt that the void was like a swamp, and he was sinking deeper and deeper into it. A great terror struck his heart, and all the hair on his body stood on end. Immediately, the aura of the great Tao emanated from his body, forming all kinds of strange phenomena. 5 connate 5 elements divine light, connate supreme yang divine light, Hongmeng immortal light. All the divine powers he possessed were released at the same time. Then, Feng Zichen gathered all the mana in his body and poured it into Hongmeng Daozhong. With a clang, the Hongmeng Daozhong flew out from his sea of consciousness and hovered above his head. Countless great Daos were reflected, and strands of Hongmeng Qi hung down, covering him and protecting him. Almost at the same time, the turbid Qi that gushed out from the ground suddenly condensed into a giant claw that covered the sky, grabbing towards Feng Zichen. The giant claw slammed onto Hongmeng Daozhong, creating an earth-shattering sound. Hongmeng Daozhong trembled, and invisible bell waves spread out, turning the void into dust. It was as if the world was about to be destroyed. This claw contained an incomparably shocking power, and the connate killing intent exploded in a large area, crushing mountains and rivers, destroying the sky, and making people tremble. Even the powerful Hongmeng Daozhong, under the infusion of Feng Zichen's mana, faced the attack of the giant claw, and trembled violently. Countless runes were destroyed, and the Hongmeng Qi collapsed in waves. One could imagine how terrifying this giant claw was. If Feng Zichen had not reacted in time and used all his strength to cast dozens of great spells to protect himself, he would have been shattered into pieces by the aftermath of the collision. Taking advantage of the moment when the giant claw was repelled by the rebound force, Feng Zichen cast the dozens of great spells that wrapped around his body at the same time, shattering the connate killing intent that covered the sky and earth. Without any obstacles, he quickly moved horizontally and escaped from the range of the giant claw. The remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god. Turning around, Feng Zichen stared at the giant claw, and his heart was filled with anger. If he had reacted a little slower, this body would have died under the claw, and even the incense light would not be spared. Moreover, he had already planned to leave, but the remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god was still so ruthless. What was the meaning of this? Was it looking down on him and treating him as an ant? Since stepping into the Z-Way star, Feng Zichen's personality had inevitably changed under the influence of the Z-Way star. He had become more and more arrogant. As the Lord of the Stars, the king of the myriad sect, and a connate divine being, he was naturally supreme. How could he not be angry after being humiliated like this? The remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god was really audacious and reckless to humiliate him like this. Although the giant claw had failed in its attack, it did not give up. With a whistling sound, its body continued to grow taller and its 5 claws opened. With a rumble, the connate killing intent filled the air and covered the universe, and once again pressed down on Feng Zichen. You're courting death. A mere remnant consciousness dares to attack me. Do you really think you're the reincarnation of the chaos demon god? With a roar, the power of the heavenly Tao rolled out from Feng Zichen's body and swept in all directions. In his rage, he had used the innate ability of the Z-Way Emperor, the incantation of the heavenly Tao. One should know that this was the Eldritch world, the graveyard of the chaos demon god. The remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god did not hide properly, but dared to come out and stir up trouble. Was the heavenly Tao really a vegetarian? Heavenly punishment, Feng Zichen said coldly. The wind and clouds changed color, and lightning suddenly appeared. The power of the heavenly Tao turned into the demon punishing thunder and struck the giant claw. At the same time, as Feng Zichen used the heavenly Tao great mystique, the heavenly Tao in the unseen world had a slight reaction and saw everything here. In an instant, the world changed color, and the laws of nature roared. The power of the demon punishing thunder increased exponentially and turned into the destructive thunder, ruthlessly striking the giant claw and shattering it into pieces. Roar! Just as the destructive thunder was about to strike the ground, a vague roar was heard in a trance, and it shocked all directions. Then, the connate spiritual light shone brightly and covered a radius of 1,000,000 miles. An aura that belonged to the Eldritch world spread out. Under the cover of this aura, The heavenly Tao seemed to be blindfolded and could no longer sense the aura of the chaos demon god. In the blink of an eye, the mighty power of the heavenly Tao retreated, and the destructive thunder turned back into the demon-punishing thunder. A connate spiritual treasure? Using the aura of a connate spiritual treasure to conceal his own demon god aura and achieve the goal of deceiving the heavenly Tao. Good technique. The remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god is very intelligent. In a flash, Feng Zichen understood the purpose of the remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god and could not help but praise. The heavenly Tao did not have intelligence, so it could be impartial. But also because of this, the heavenly Tao did not have intelligence and could not think, so it was easy to be deceived. The remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god took advantage of this loophole in the heavenly Tao and used the connate spiritual treasure to deceive the heavenly Tao and avoid the attack of the heavenly Tao. Chapter 99. After the power of the Way of Heaven disappeared, the connate evil qi that had scattered into the void gathered again. The divine light of creation flickered and turned into fierce beasts that charged at Feng Zichen. However, after the bombardment of the divine thunder of destruction, the power of the connate evil qi was undoubtedly weakened and could no longer pose a threat to Feng Zichen. Feng Zichen waved his sleeve and the Zichen sword appeared in his hand. The sun, moon, and stars appeared on one side and the universe on the other. It was incomparably sharp and chilling. Die! Without much words, the word die represented his determination. Feng Zichen waved the Zichen sword in his hand and charged forward. Light surged like a sea of stars and millions of thunderbolts. Everything in the world appeared and slashed forward with his movements. Puff, 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 puff. Blood splattered as the fierce beasts were killed by Feng Zichen. They disintegrated in the air and exploded, turning into balls of connate evil qi. In just a moment, the fierce beasts formed by the connate evil qi were all killed by him. I'd like to see what kind of ability you have to provoke me again and again. Without any hesitation, Feng Zichen turned into a purple light and rushed into the depths of the ground. He wanted to find out more about the remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god. This time, Feng Zichen was really angry. The remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god had gone too far and didn't take him seriously at all. If he didn't teach it a lesson, how could he let it go? Whoosh, 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 whoosh. After passing through the rocks in the underground river, Feng Zichen went all the way down. Soon, his eyes lit up and he came to a mysterious space. Boom, boom, boom. Looking around, the connate evil qi was boundless like a vast ocean. It released a dark yellow light that illuminated the surrounding void and brought a trace of light to the underground that was always dark. Roar, roar, roar. As if it had sensed the aura of a stranger, the connate evil qi became restless. The qi of creation of the earth appeared and gave birth to half-daluo, level fierce beasts that roared at Feng Zichen. Humph! With a cold snort, Feng Zichen took out the Hongmeng Daozhong and tapped it lightly. Dang! The Hongmeng Daozhong trembled slightly, and layers of ripples appeared in the void. Wherever it passed, nothing existed. The newly born vicious beast was swept by the ripples, and it was silently destroyed, turning into nothingness. Nothing was left behind. However, as soon as the ferocious beasts were destroyed, new ferocious beasts were born amidst the tumbling innate murderous qi, blocking Feng Zichen's advance. Clang, clang, clang. A series of hurried chimes rang out. It was Feng Zichen with an impatient expression, continuously ringing Hongmeng Daozhong. With the support of the Hongmeng Daozhong, more and more ripples appeared in the void, spreading faster and faster. One after another, they crushed the connate evil qi. Those ferocious beasts that had just been born, those that were still in the process of being nurtured, as well as the innate fiendish qi, were completely unable to resist the primordial chaos Dao Bel's unparalleled power. They were all turned into nothingness one after another. When the chimes stopped, Feng Zichen's eyes were empty. The sea of connate evil qi had been completely destroyed by the Hongmeng Daozhong. Ha ha! With a chuckle, Feng Zichen's body bloomed with a brilliant golden light of merit, which turned into a great sun, illuminating the surroundings as bright as day. After that, he stepped into the depths of the earth. This was an acquired merit treasure, the light of merit. It was Feng Zichen's strongest defensive means. No one below the Daluo could break it. Even Daluo Jingxian could resist it for a while. Although he was angry, he did not lose his mind. The depths of the earth were the enemy's territory. Now that he had rushed in, he could not be too careful. Even if Feng Zichen died here now, he would only lose an incarnation. It would not have much impact on his original body on the Z-Way star. However, this physical body was his original body, which had witnessed his transformation. From the beginning of the acquired body to the connate body, and now to the connate Taoism aptitude, he had worked hard to achieve it. It contained all his efforts and was of great significance to him. He could not die here. With a great sun of merit above his head, Feng Zichen did not encounter any more trouble. He smoothly arrived at the depths of the earth, where the remnant consciousness of the Chaos Demon God was. Compared to the previous place, the depths of the earth were like another world. As soon as Feng Zichen stepped in, he felt a change in the laws of heaven and earth. The air was filled with the aura of chaos. In front of him, the origin of the earth gathered. It was a vast expanse of yellow, exuding a noble aura that made people want to worship it. As he walked forward, wisps of black gas appeared. They were extremely deep and did not emit any shocking aura. They just surged toward him calmly and inconspicuously. This is chaotic evil aura. However, when he saw this wisp of black gas, Feng Zichen's pupils suddenly shrank. His face was full of horror. He quickly dodged to the side, not daring to let the black gas get close to him. That was the evil aura emitted by the Chaos Demon God. It was the source of the connate evil aura. It was extremely magical. It seemed ordinary and inconspicuous. However, if it fell on a person, he would be directly transformed into a ferocious beast under the influence of the Daluo. If the Daluo Jingxian touched it, it would not be good for him. His origin would be damaged, his spiritual altar would be covered in dust, and his strength would be greatly reduced. It would take tens of thousands of years for him to recover. Moreover, the chaotic evil aura had another ability. It could deceive a cultivator's spiritual sense. One must know that a cultivator's spiritual sense was extremely powerful. It could predict danger in advance. It was one of the most powerful means that cultivators relied on to survive. However, the chaotic evil aura could deceive it directly, making it impossible for people to sense its danger. In addition, its ordinary appearance was simply impossible to guard against. If not for the fact that Feng Zichen often comprehended the memory of opening the sky and was extremely sensitive to the things on the Chaos Demon God, he would have recognized it at a glance. Otherwise, with its inconspicuous appearance, he would not care about the evil aura and would casually hit it. If that happened, it would be troublesome. Carefully avoiding the chaotic evil aura, Feng Zichen continued to walk in, looking for the remnant consciousness of the Chaos Demon God. That remnant consciousness is quite good at hiding. It hasn't shown any trace until now. After wandering in the depths of the underground for half a day, Feng Zichen found nothing except the earth origin and the chaotic evil aura, let alone the remnant consciousness of the Chaos Demon God. Haha! Now you know how to be afraid. Why didn't you come out earlier? If you don't come out, I will force you out. Seeing that the remnant consciousness of the Chaos Demon God could not hide, Feng Zichen smirked and said to the void with a mocking smile. Clang! 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 Behind Feng Zichen, 5 divine lights shot into the sky. That was the evolution of the innate 5 elements divine light. After advancing to the Tai Jingxian stage, the power of the 5 elements divine light had become stronger. As the 5 divine lights rotated, they were like 5 celestial swords unsheathed, strangling everything and sweeping through the universe. Whoosh! As the 5 elements divine light brushed past, large patches of earth origin disappeared and turned into pure 5 elements origin, strengthening the 5 elements realm. Chapter 100. Stop! An ancient Tao sound resounded, resonating with heaven and earth and resonating with all Daos. Supreme majesty spread in all directions, and the connate 5 elements divine light disintegrated inch by inch. Oh! Finally willing to come out, I thought you would continue to endure. Feng Zichen said leisurely as he stared at a certain void. Judging from the heavenly Tao's loathing of the Chaos Demon God, the rich earth origin here was definitely not condensed by him. Since it was not the work of the heavenly Tao, then the earth origin could not have appeared out of thin air. Obviously, this was the origin emitted by the Chaos Demon God. The connate 5 elements divine light rampaged, wantonly plundering the earth origin here. Seeing this, the remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god, who was its master, could not sit still. He did not care about hiding his tracks and immediately showed himself. Rumble. A khaki-colored ball of light, surrounded by the chi of chaos, slowly rose from the earth origin with the aura of the great Tao spreading around it. No wonder you did not dare to show yourself, so that's why. You are not the remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god, but a living creature formed by the remnants of the chaos demon god's body. Feng Zichen frowned and was deeply surprised to find that things were a little different from what he had imagined. In the khaki-colored ball of light, there was vitality everywhere, and a vague figure could be vaguely seen. Obviously, there was a life being born in it. You dare to be so arrogant before you are born. If you are born, you will be terrible. Maybe you will be another demon who will cause chaos in the untainted land. With this thought, Feng Zichen raised his sword and swung it. Mighty sword chi surged out and slashed at the khaki-colored ball of light. In an instant, it was as if the Milky Way had fallen and the sea of stars had exploded. A vast expanse of purple, dazzling sword light emerged, and the sun, the moon, and the stars appeared. With the momentum to cut through the universe, it slashed down with a loud bang. Almost at the same time, the khaki-colored ball of light in the sky trembled violently. Runes blazed, and golden splendor sprinkled down. Rays of khaki-colored light intertwined and turned into a Kangmang continent, which collided with the sea of stars. With a loud bang, the continent and the sea of stars collided violently and shattered one after another, turning into spots of light and slowly dissipating. As expected, this devil's fetus is still in the realm of Tai. He has yet to become Daluo Jingxian. After a round of probing, Feng Zichen determined the other party's cultivation level. Although it was a few levels higher than his, they were still in the same cultivation level. Human, you've gone too far. After the shockwave subsided, the devil's fetus suddenly spoke. Past. Am I wrong? Haha. What a joke. Hearing devil's fetus's words, Feng Zichen first doubtfully muttered to himself before laughing out loud. His laughter revealed a bone-chilling intent. This devil's fetus had not only ordered the ferocious beasts to besiege Yi City, but he had also ruthlessly attacked him. Now, he was saying that he had gone overboard. Feng Zichen was so angry that he laughed. Dang! His face instantly turned cold. Feng Zichen held the sword in one hand and formed a seal with the other. As the rhythm of the Tao lingered, the order of heaven and earth was disrupted, and yin and yang were reversed. An unparalleled mighty force descended and directly attacked the devil's fetus. This was a great divine ability, the reversal of yin and yang. It could reverse the order of heaven and earth, cause the sun and moon to lose their order, and confuse right and wrong. It could be seen that under the effect of this power, the laws were distorted and everything was reversed. The vitality on the devil's fetus was constantly transforming into the aura of death. Life and death were intertwined. Facing this attack, the devil's fetus did not panic at all. He coldly spat out a word. Break. In an instant, time and space stagnated. The domineering will that belonged to the chaos demon god suddenly burst out and turned into a giant hand covered in yellow scales. It quietly floated above the devil's fetus without any movement. Even so, the power that could reverse everything suddenly disappeared after the giant hand appeared. In the blink of an eye, the aura of death on the devil's fetus disappeared and vitality was restored. Everything returned to normal. Clang! A melodious bell rang. After the giant hand appeared, the Hongmeng Daozhong trembled slightly for a moment. The shadow of a chaos demon god appeared on the bell, as if it was the origin of the great Tao of earth. The shadow of the chaos demon god and the giant hand above the devil's fetus gave off the same aura. The shape of the arm could be compared to the giant hand. That is, the arm of the earth demon god. That day in the deepest part of Mount Buzhou, Feng Zichen used the special ability of the Hongmeng Daozhong to imprint the images of 3,000 chaos demon gods on the bell, so that he could comprehend them in the future. He did not expect that when he came to look for the remnant consciousness of the chaos demon god in a fit of anger, he would encounter a living creature born from the remnant body of the chaos demon god. Under the guidance of the aura, the shadow of the chaos demon god automatically appeared on the Hongmeng Daozhong. The aura of the great Tao of earth on the chaos demon god was so strong that Feng Zichen understood the origin of the giant hand. It was a living creature born from the arm of the earth demon god. Haha! The imprint of the chaos demon god. That was indeed not my illusion. You really have the inheritance of the Chaos Demon God. It was not in vain that I tried so hard to lure you here. The appearance of the shadow of the Earth Demon God immediately attracted the attention of the devil's fetus. He was so excited that he could not help but shout. When Feng Zichen was massacring the ferocious beasts in Yi City, the devil's fetus had noticed him. He vaguely felt that there was a familiar aura on him that inexplicably attracted the devil's fetus's mind. For this reason, the devil's fetus sent ferocious beasts one after another to attack Yi City, with the intention of exploring Feng Zichen's secrets. Later, when the devil's fetus discovered the aura of the demon god on Feng Zichen, it did not hesitate to provoke him, infuriating him, and luring him here. It was all for the inheritance of the demon god on him. The arm of the earth demon god was cut off by Pangu. It was a miracle that it remained intact. The various great Tao rules contained in it naturally could not be preserved, and they were all destroyed by Pangu's axe light. Therefore, although the devil's fetus was formed from the remains of the earth demon god's body, he did not obtain the inheritance of the earth demon god other than the aura of the arm that gave birth to him. It could be said that the imprint of the earth demon god imprinted on Hongmeng Daozhong contained more inheritance than the devil's fetus. "Aunt, you will pay the price for your arrogance in the end." Saying this, the devil's fetus's body rippled with divine light, and the origin of the earth instantly boiled. With a rumble, the boundless origin of the earth madly converged toward the devil's fetus, turning into a giant that was 1,000,000 feet tall. It was surrounded by runes, dazzling divine light, and a powerful aura that intimidated the surroundings. As for the devil's fetus itself, it sank into the giant's body and disappeared. As a living being formed from the remains of the Chaos Demon God, it did not obtain the inheritance of the Chaos Demon God. How humiliating was that? Hand over the inheritance of the Chaos Demon God. With a roar, the devil's fetus controlled the giant and charged toward Feng Zichen. Scoundrel, hiding in the origin of the earth, what kind of ability is that? If you have the guts, break open the devil's fetus and have a real fight with me. Only then can you live up to the name of your father, the Chaos Demon God. Chapter 101. Although Feng Zichen mocked him, he didn't slow down either. As his merit spiritual aura flowed, he raised the Zichen sword and faced the attack. Although the giant formed by the earth origin was extremely powerful and was infinitely close to Daluo Jinqian's level, it was still a hair's breadth away and was still in the Tai realm. A hair's breadth was like a chasm. As long as the giant was still in the Tai Jingxian realm and had the protection of the merit spiritual aura, Feng Zichen had nothing to fear. Kill! As the purple imperial sword danced, the heaven-opening Taoist rhymes shot out endless beams of world-destroying light. It was as if the heavens and earth were splitting apart as it slashed towards the yellow giant. You're courting death. Being mocked by Feng Zichen like this, the devil's fetus was furious. When he attacked, he actually increased his strength. The earth origin rolled out and suppressed Feng Zichen with an aura that could crush the heavens. Even the Chaos Demon God himself wasn't a match for Pangu, let alone the Chaos Demon God's inheritance that the devil's fetus had only scratched the surface. So, how could he block the heaven-splitting sword aura? With a boom, the earth origin was no match for the heaven-splitting sword aura and was shattered into pieces. Then, the sword aura didn't slow down and suddenly slashed the giant's body, cutting off his left arm. Hiss! Panga's aura! You actually have Panga's inheritance. Haha, you're really bringing me more and more surprises. Sensing the majestic power, the fear that came from the depths of the devil's fetus bloodline made him tremble uncontrollably. But when he thought about how he could obtain everything about Feng Zichen and master this majestic power after devouring him, the devil's fetus felt excited. Waves of earth origin surged toward the giant, trying to reform the giant's left arm. But the heaven-splitting sword aura was indestructible and the Taoist rhymes were everlasting. The blurry purple light flickered, and no matter what the devil's fetus did, he couldn't restore it. Good. This is the power I'm looking forward to. The giant was unable to recover, but the devil's fetus wasn't angry. Instead, he was delighted. With a loud laugh, the giant exploded, and a huge shockwave swept out in all directions. Bas! The self-destruction of a doppelganger that was equivalent to the ultimate state of Tai Jingxian was so powerful that it caused the virtuous spiritual light to tremble. Boom, boom, boom. The origin of the earth began to change again. It was like a yellow ocean with boundless waves. One giant after another walked out of the ocean, stepping on the waves as they charged toward Feng Zichen. Hand over the inheritance of the chaos demonic god. Hundreds of giants roared in unison. Their roars reverberated for thousands of miles, causing ripples to form in the void and spread out. Zichen's sword was placed in front of his chest. Feng Zichen's eyes were calm as he lightly flicked the blade of the sword. A clear and melodious sword chime leisurely sounded out, shattering the surging ripples. Then, his body moved and he rushed into the giant crowd. Whoosh! 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 Streaks of sharp sword light flew out of Feng Zichen's hand and slashed at the giants that were coming from all directions. Wherever the sword radiance passed, the heaven-splitting Taoist rhymes filled the air. The giants couldn't resist at all. They were either slashed horizontally or cut vertically. In an instant, flesh and blood splattered everywhere, and severed limbs flew everywhere. Unfortunately, every time Feng Zichen killed a giant, the origin of the earth would form another giant and continue to charge toward him. It was simply impossible to kill all of them. Haha! The heaven-splitting sword radiance is so powerful. It must consume a lot of energy. How long can you last if you keep using the heaven-splitting sword radiance like this? But I'm different. The origin of the earth here is endless. I can squander it however I want. Sooner or later, I'll exhaust you to death. You have the inheritance of the god fiend and Pangu. You have a lot of opportunities. Your future will be incomparably bright. There's no need to fight to the death with me here. Moreover, if you accidentally die here, wouldn't it be a waste of your great opportunity? Why don't you make a copy of the inheritance of the god fiend and Pangu and leave it here? Then, I'll let you go. How about that? In the battle, the giants spoke one after another. They tried to persuade Feng Zichen to hand over the inheritance. Are you so sure that I'll lose? I don't think so. I think that the person who will die today will definitely be you. After hearing the devil's fetus's words, Feng Zichen didn't respond immediately. Instead, he crushed the giant in front of him and took the time to speak to the void leisurely. Stop trying. You won't be able to find where I am. As soon as Feng Zichen finished speaking, the giants around him had strange looks on their faces. They spoke to him in the same tone. As the saying goes, to catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. As long as he killed the devil's fetus hiding in the dark, these giants would lose their medium and become rootless duckweeds. At that time, Feng Zichen wouldn't have to do it himself. These giants would collapse on their own. However, he didn't expect the devil's fetus to be so alert. He had been hiding in the dark and didn't give himself away at all. Feng Zichen couldn't do anything about it. This devil's fetus is already so difficult to deal with even before he's born. If he's born, I'm afraid he can kill me with a flip of his hand. Fortunately, this devil's fetus was transformed from the remains of the chaos god fiend. If he were to take a human form, he would definitely be punished by the heavens. There would be no escape until he died. This devil's fetus hasn't taken a human form yet. I'm afraid he's not sure if he can escape the attack of the way of heaven. Therefore, he doesn't dare to take a human form. In this way, Feng Zichen fought with the giants while thinking of a way to defeat the enemy. Imagine, with the strength of the chaos god fiend, even the impurities expelled from his body could be called a treasure in the untainted land. Not to mention the devil's fetus transformed from his arm. The devil's fetus's power of origin was extremely strong. It was not inferior to that of Daluo Jingxian. If he were to be born, he could save hundreds of millions of years of bitter cultivation and directly become Daluo Jingxian. But success and failure depended on this matter. As a creature completely transformed from the remains of the chaos god fiend, his destiny was not in the long river of destiny. Therefore, once he came to the untainted land with the appearance of Daluo Jingxian, the aura of the chaos god fiend on his body could no longer be concealed. It was equivalent to exposing himself to the way of heaven. The consequences could be imagined. In order to hide from the sight of the way of heaven and avoid the attack of the way of heaven, the devil's fetus expelled most of his power of origin from his body, causing his power to fall from that of Daluo Jingxian to that of Tai Jingxian. It was precisely because of this that Feng Zichen could fight with him in full swing. If he had come a few yuan hui earlier, the devil's fetus could still be compared to Daluo Jingxian. He could kill him with a flip of his palm. And the power of the earth here was the power of the devil's fetus that was expelled from his body. Therefore, The devil's fetus could control it so smoothly. Forget it. I won't fight anymore. You're good. Let's end it here today. Let me go back and rest. I'll visit you another day. Seeing that the giants were endless, Feng Zichen gradually became annoyed. Moreover, as time passed, he felt more and more tired when he waved the Zichen sword. He simply put away the sword, shouted at the void, and flew into the air. Chapter 102. Humph. You want to leave? Do you think you can? Seeing that Feng Zichen was about to leave, the devil's fetus snorted coldly. How could he let him do as he wished? Lock me. As the chaotic ancient words fell, heaven and earth suddenly throbbed inexplicably. A strange aura filled the air, and a strange force descended. Feng Zichen felt as if he had fallen into a quagmire and was sinking continuously, unable to move. At the same time, the giant on the origin of earth roared and turned into divine chains of the great path. It rushed into the sky and wrapped around Feng Zichen, trying to pull him into the origin of earth. Knowing that the situation was critical, Feng Zichen's mind moved. In an instant, he mobilized all the mana in his body and fiercely rang the Hongmeng Daozhong. Clang! The grand sound of the bell rang. It was like the sound of the great path, but also like the roar of heaven and earth. The strange force suddenly disappeared, and the void returned to normal. Whoosh! After the bell wave broke the seal of the void, it did not disappear. Instead, it continued to spread and crush the divine chains of the great path, attacking Feng Zichen. Ha! If I want to leave, you can't stop me. Looking at the origin of earth below, Feng Zichen's face turned cold. He waved his sleeve and threw out several bolts of 10,000 godly thunder. Rumble! Thunder suddenly sounded. The 10,000 godly thunder first turned into a sea of thunder and struck down. When it came close to the origin of earth, it suddenly evolved into the sun, moon, stars, and the universe, forming a vast world and smashing down with a loud bang. In an instant, lightning splashed everywhere, and heaven and earth were covered in white. Let's go! Taking advantage of this opportunity, Feng Zichen stretched out his hand and tore open the space, revealing a space tunnel. He flashed and walked into it. You want to leave? It's not that easy. Don't you know whose territory this is? The devil's fetus, who was hiding in the dark, noticed Feng Zichen's movement and sneered. He did not stop him and quietly watched him walk into the space tunnel. Walking out of the spatial tunnel, Feng Zichen looked around and couldn't help but be shocked. The great earth origin source in front of him was rolling endlessly, boundless and boundless. Releasing his divine sense, Feng Zichen was surprised to find that he was only 100 steps away from his previous position. In other words, he had only teleported a distance of 100 steps across space. It was not even as far as he could go with a single leap. Haha, this is a space of its own. It's easy to enter, but difficult to leave. Without my permission, no one can leave. A massive earth origin rose and turned into a burly figure. It walked in front of Feng Zichen and said to him, "Tell me, what are your conditions? What do I have to do for you to let me go?" Seeing the devil's fetus appear, Feng Zichen seemed to admit defeat. Glancing at Hongmeng Daozhong with fear, the devil's fetus promised, "If you want to leave this place, you can. As long as you leave behind the inheritance of the Chaos Demon God and Pangu, I will allow you to leave. I will not stop you." How can I trust you? How can you guarantee that after you get the inheritance, you will not turn against me ruthlessly? Hearing the devil's fetus's guarantee, Feng Zichen just smiled. Although he didn't care in his heart, it was another way of saying it. Do you have a choice? You can only trust me. Either you hand over the inheritance and I will let you go, or you fight to the death with the great earth origin. After you die of exhaustion, I will devour your true spirit and still get the inheritance. Sensing a trace of fear in Feng Zichen's words, the devil's fetus became more and more aggressive. His words were full of dominance, as if victory was in his hands. Then there's no room for negotiation. Nodding, Feng Zichen suddenly raised Hongmeng Daozhong and smashed it at the devil's fetus's doppelganger in front of him. The doppelganger's brain was smashed, and he died tragically on the spot. Bastard! If you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. In the distance, Another doppelganger of the devil's fetus appeared and cursed at Feng Zichen in a flustered and exasperated manner. As soon as the devil's fetus finished speaking, Feng Zichen suddenly felt his heart palpitate. All the hair on his body stood on end, and the back of his head felt like it was being pricked by needles. His true spirit trembled violently. Without much time to think, his body erupted with resplendent divine light. Innate Tao patterns flickered, and all kinds of divine abilities were unleashed. His blood energy surged. With a swoosh, Feng Zichen instantly moved horizontally like a ray of light and hid in the distance. Almost at the same time, just as Feng Zichen's foot left, a jet-black arrow with a hint of blood shot over and hit the place where he was just standing. With a boom, the void exploded, and the place was completely boiling. This arrow carried an incomparably astonishing power. When it hit the void, it exploded with a boom. Chaotic evil chi erupted in all directions, and a violent aura spread in all directions as if it could destroy the world and shock the world. That is, the blood of the chaos demon god? Feng Zichen trembled a little. The blood on the arrow was the blood stain left behind by the chaos demon god. It could destroy the Tao and destroy one's true spirit. Not to mention being hit by it, even if he was grazed by it, his physical body would be destroyed. Nothing would be left except for his physical body. Fortunately, he had obtained many opportunities and cultivated the 3 pure Taoist scriptures, which made his spiritual sense extremely powerful. It was far superior to other cultivators of the same level. Otherwise, he would have been dead. Good, very good. At this moment, Feng Zichen suddenly turned around and stared at the origin of the earth. Killing intent surged in his heart as he gritted his teeth and said, "What? What a sharp spiritual sense. You actually dodged it." On the other side of the origin of the earth, another clone of the devil's fetus appeared. He was shocked by Feng Zichen's spiritual sense. He held a large black bow in his hand. It was the arrow that he had shot just now. However, even if you can dodge it the first time, can you dodge it the second time or the third time? There will definitely be an arrow that will hit you. After recovering from his shock, he aimed at Feng Zichen again and shot 3 arrows in a row. Danger. Extreme danger. Before the arrows even got close, Feng Zichen felt a chill run down his spine. The shadow of death loomed over his heart, and his body could not help but tremble. Facing the 3 arrows, the light of merit could not block them. After all these years of understanding, Feng Zichen already understood that although the light of merit was strong, the filthy chi in the world was the best counter to it. During the battle with the world devastator Taoist in the Thunderlock, Feng Zichen had suffered a loss in this aspect, so it was especially memorable. The arrows carried a trace of the blood of the chaos fiend god and were the most ferocious objects in the world. Nature was the nemesis of the light of merit and was its greatest nemesis. Buzz! A golden seal appeared between Feng Zichen's eyebrows. The light of the sun shone brighter and brighter. It was as dazzling as a sun that illuminated the greater world. The connate divine light of Yang was the purest light. It belonged to the same category as the sun and was the best counter to the ferocious qi. Huff! A beam of connate divine light of Yang shot out from between his eyebrows and pierced through the void like a golden immortal sword, sacred and powerful. In the clanging sound, the blinding blood arrow was blocked by the connate divine light of Yang and then cut into pieces. In the end, the arrow was purified and turned into a wisp of smoke. Chapter 103. Suddenly, a cloud of pitch-black fog appeared. It was a vast expanse of darkness, and it silently blew toward Feng Zichen without causing the slightest ripple. Chaotic baleful qi. After destroying the arrow, Feng Zichen hadn't even had the time to catch his breath when he saw the black mist from the corner of his eye, and he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart as he spoke abruptly. Hongmeng qi go. Knowing the formidability of the chaotic baleful qi, Feng Zichen formed seals with his right hand, and the magic energy in his body surged while the aura of the Tao coiled around him. His index and middle fingers formed a sword and slashed towards the sky. Splash! The sound of water resounded. As his sword slashed, a dazzling violet light flashed, and the sky suddenly split apart. Hongmeng qi surged out and transformed into a violet river that was extremely dazzling as it flowed forward and surged towards the chaotic baleful qi. Rumble! The Hongmeng qi and the chaotic baleful qi collided with each other, and they intertwined and devoured each other. It was extremely intense. One was the qi of Genesis, and it was the origin of everything that could assimilate everything. The other was the chi of destruction, and it was the most evil energy in the world that could corrode everything. The two collided, and the violet chi and black chi intertwined as if they were describing the principles of life and death. The aura of the Grand Tao suffused the air, and countless changes instantly occurred. An ocean of stars appeared, phantoms of fiend gods appeared, all living beings roared, ferocious beasts howled. They fought with each other, and they either exploded or collapsed, and it was extremely tragic. The chaotic baleful chi came from the fiend gods of chaos, and its might was naturally extremely shocking. On the other hand, even though the Hongmeng chi was of high quality, Feng Zichen's cultivation was too low, and he was unable to bring out its proper might. As a result, not only did the Hongmeng chi fail to gain the upper hand under the assault of the chaotic baleful chi, it gradually fell into a disadvantageous position, and it could only withdraw its strength and enter into a stalemate with the chaotic baleful chi. Humph. I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to actually have such ability. However, no matter how many abilities you have, it's useless in this place. Seeing that his two trump cards were blocked by Feng Zichen, the devil's fetus was shocked, but he didn't show it on his face. With a thought, the origin of Earth spewed out tens of thousands of rays of yellow light towards him. In mid-air, Feng Zichen stood with his sword in hand. Seeing the earthy yellow brilliance surging towards him, he turned around and drew a sword ring in the void where the tip of his sword passed. Whoosh whoosh. Purple light suddenly appeared, forming a ring. Boundless sword chi shot out, sweeping in all directions, slashing at the incoming yellow light, shattering it one by one. Get down here! Just as Feng Zichen was fighting with the yellow light, the devil's fetus let out a loud roar. The origin of the earth suddenly changed and evolved into a huge vortex. Rumble, rumble, rumble. After the vortex appeared, it emitted a powerful suction force that swallowed everything in all directions, sucking towards Feng Zichen in the air. What? Feng Zichen only felt a huge force assault him, as if he was carrying a mountain on his back. His body suddenly became tens of thousands of times heavier. Caught off guard, he couldn't help but fall down into the vortex. Seeing this, the devil's fetus laughed loudly and mobilized the origin power to suppress Feng Zichen. Haha, suppress for me. In an instant, the origin of Earth changed again. Huge mountains appeared, rising into the sky and falling into the vortex, blocking it and suppressing Feng Zichen. As the mountains fell one after another, the origin of Earth within the vortex became thicker and thicker. It was so heavy that it seemed like it would collapse the world, suppressing Feng Zichen to the point where he couldn't move at all. In the void, an ancient voice resounded, carrying a bewitching intent as it spoke to Feng Zichen. Fellow Taoist, I'll give you one more chance. As long as you hand over the inheritance, I'll let you go and spare your life. Just you? A coward who hides his head and shows his tail wants to kill me? Dream on. Unable to move, Feng Zichen rolled his eyes and cursed at the void. At the same time, he released his divine thought and scanned the void, trying to find the devil's fetus's real body. Unfortunately, the voice came from all directions and was erratic. Feng Zichen couldn't locate the devil's fetus. After scanning the void several times with his divine thought, he still couldn't find any trace of the devil's fetus. Obviously, the devil's fetus was very cautious. Even though Feng Zichen was suppressed and couldn't move, he still hid in the dark and refused to show himself. Humph. I was going to spare your life, but since you don't know what's good for you and want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Innate Earth Elemental Formation. Refine. Although he could still obtain Feng Zichen's inheritance if he killed and devoured him, it would inevitably be incomplete. In the end, it wouldn't be as complete as the one he had voluntarily handed over. But Feng Zichen's mouth was extremely foul, calling him a coward. This infuriated the devil's fetus, and he couldn't care less. He immediately activated the formation to refine Feng Zichen to death. Rumble! The earthen yellow light surged and attacked Feng Zichen. It entered his body through his pores and flowed to his limbs and bones, constantly changing the structure of his body and petrifying him. In just a few moments, this boundless energy washed over Feng Zichen's skin and turned it into stone. So this formation is the legendary innate earth elemental formation. No wonder it was able to trap me and make me unable to break free. That devil's fetus was formed from the arm of the earth demon god, so it's understandable that he could control this formation. But I didn't expect him to be so patient. He waited until now to use this formation to catch me off guard. If I hadn't planned to run, he probably wouldn't have even used this formation. He would have continued to hide it and kept it as a trump card to deal a fatal blow at a critical moment. This demon is very scheming. From the devil's fetus's words, Feng Zichen understood that he was being suppressed by the innate earth elemental formation. The giant whirlpool, the countless mountains on his body, and the earth and yellow light surging into his body were all evolved from this formation. The innate earth elemental formation was the embodiment of the earth elemental Tao. It was born from the heavens and earth and was the highest formation of this Tao. It contained the various mysteries of the earth elemental Tao. At the same time, it was one of the 5 innate formations that formed the innate 5 elements formation. A single innate earth elemental formation was powerful, but in the wilderness, it could only be considered a first-rate formation. It was far from being called a top-tier formation. But the innate 5 elements formation was different. It was a true top-tier formation of the wilderness. The 5 elements reinforced and restrained each other in a cycle. Everything was in it, and it was the cornerstone of the heaven and earth. The innate 5 elements formation was named after the 5 elements. It was obvious how powerful it was. If this formation was the innate 5 elements formation, it might really be able to suppress me. Unfortunately, a mere innate earth elemental formation can't do anything to me. Moreover, your innate earth elemental formation is incomplete. It lacks the materials to set it up and its power is greatly reduced. How can it kill me? One had to know that a top-tier formation was a top-tier formation not only because of the great Tao it represented, but also because of the materials used to set it up. Chapter 104. In the primordial world, there were many connate formations. They all had great origins and were the embodiment of the connate Tao. Among them, the Tao of Yin and Yang, the Tao of 3 talents, the Tao of 5 elements. The connate formations derived from the connate Tao that supported the primordial world were extremely powerful and represented the origin of heaven and earth. However, why were the Zhouxing formation, the great formation of divine fiends, and the immortal slaying sword formation listed separately and called the 3 top formations of the primordial world? It was not that the other connate formations were not strong, but that the materials used to set up these 3 connate formations were too extraordinary and much more powerful than the other connate formations. It could be said that the reason why these 3 connate formations could dominate the primordial world and suppress the other connate formations was more because of the reputation of the forces behind them. In terms of power, they were not much stronger than the other connate formations. The Zhouxing formation used 365 main stars as the foundation, and was controlled by more than 300 Daluo Jingxian and several Sage to be to suppress the endless void. The great formation of divine fiends used Panga's heart as the foundation, and was controlled by 12 Sage to be ancestral magi to gather Panga's real body. The immortal slaying sword formation was a set of connate cardinal treasures. It was formed by 5 supreme-grade connate spirit treasures. After it was set up, the murderous aura would surge and kill immortals and gods. Only 4 cultivators of the same realm could break it. This was what they relied on to dominate the primordial world. If they could not gather these things, they would not be able to unleash their destructive power even though they were still the top formations of the primordial world. Compared to the other connate formations, they would no longer have any advantages. They were on the same level and could not live up to the name of the 3 top formations of the primordial world. The connate earth element formation set up by the devil's fetus was only a set of formations. Although it was powerful, it lacked a main object, so it could not unleash its full power. Therefore, although this formation could suppress Feng Zichen, it was not powerful enough to kill him. Haha, I'm afraid your formation won't be able to kill me. Looking at his gradually petrifying skin, Feng Zichen did not panic at all. He laughed loudly and the mana in his body exploded. With a rumble, divine light blossomed. The divine apertures all over his body were shining with incomparably bright light. The image of a high and mighty deity appeared. Amidst the chanting, the godly spirits' phantoms formed hand seals. Strands of mysterious Tao light flew out from their hands and surged into Feng Zichen's body, forming a heaven and earth furnace. Heaven and earth furnace, refined for me. As soon as the worldly furnace appeared, it started to revolve on its own, and an enormous suction force suddenly appeared, completely suppressing and refining the earth quintessence that was surging into Feng Zichen's body. However, the earth origin energy was boundless, pouring endlessly into Feng Zichen's body. Even though the heaven and earth furnace was refining the earth origin energy with all its might, its power was still insufficient. Many of the earth origin energy escaped and continued to destroy Feng Zichen's body. Can't I? Then again. Sensing that the heaven and earth furnace could not resist the earth quintessence, Feng Zichen frowned slightly. The 5 qi in his chest surged out and strengthened the furnace. In an instant, 5 colored brilliance shone, and the heaven and earth furnace rumbled. The 5 elemental sacred beasts phantoms appeared on the furnace, and its power multiplied. The speed of refining the earth quintessence also increased. It's useful. Again. The heaven and earth furnace's transformation made Feng Zichen happy. He continued to cast his skills to strengthen the furnace. Whoosh! The innate 5 elements divine light swept out and enveloped the heaven and earth furnace. As the 5-colored light spread out, a terrifying aura spread out. The laws of heaven and earth appeared, and the earth quintessence in Feng Zichen's body was completely absorbed. Boom! The 10,000 elephant divine lightning and innate extreme yang divine light blasted out at the same time, turning into raging flames. The majestic power distorted the void and burned fiercely towards the heaven and earth furnace, helping it refine the earth quintessence. Under the support of various great skills, the heaven and earth furnace underwent a shocking change. An aura that could refine the heaven and earth rose from its body, twisting the Tao and shattering the laws. Wang, wang, wang. The heaven and earth furnace trembled for a moment and broke through the innate earth quintessence array's blockade. It flew out of Feng Zichen's body and floated above his head, spinning. Suddenly, a huge suction force was released, twisting the surrounding void and causing it to collapse, forming a huge spatial vortex. Haha! Fellow cultivator, you used the earth quintessence array to suppress me. Now, an eye for an eye. Take this. Amidst his laughter, Feng Zichen stood up and broke away from the suppression of the innate earth quintessence array. Rumble! As if the Milky Way was descending, the earth quintessence in the surroundings rushed madly towards the vortex and was absorbed and refined by the heaven and earth furnace. In the blink of an eye, an unknown amount of earth quintessence was refined by it. At the same time, a yellow light rose from Feng Zichen's body. The light was warm and incomparably heavy, and it emitted an aura that could bear all things. It was the earth quintessence refined by the heaven and earth furnace. Suddenly obtaining so much earth quintessence and under the impact of the earth quintessence Tao, Feng Zichen couldn't help but feel uncomfortable with his current strength. After all, he mainly cultivated the Tao of stars, not the Tao of earth. A large amount of earth quintessence surged into his body and began to change his body continuously, transforming him into an innate earth quintessence Tao body. New innate Tao patterns were born on his bones, and the aura of earth filled the air. Oh no! Changing his Tao body was equivalent to changing his Tao foundation. How could Feng Zichen tolerate this? As his expression changed drastically, a yellow Tao seal appeared in his body. It was shaped like a huge mountain, holding up the sky and filling the air with vicissitudes of life. It was the seal of Mount Buzhou. As the backbone of Pangu, the pillar of the Eldritch world, connecting heaven and earth, Mount Buzhou contained the most earth quintessence in the Eldritch world. It could be said to be the most profound Eldritch world. As soon as the seal appeared, the earth quintessence seemed to have found its source and rushed towards it impatiently, causing the seal of Mount Buzhou to become clearer. Its divine aura became stronger and its Tao rhythm became more profound. As a result, the pressure on Feng Zichen's body suddenly disappeared. His entire body felt lighter, and the transformation of his body stopped abruptly. From Feng Zichen's escape to him condensing the Buzhou Tao seal, and so on, a series of things happened in a short period of time. What? How did you escape? At this moment, the devil's fetus finally realized what had happened. His expression changed drastically, and he was shocked. However, he didn't have time to think about how Feng Zichen had escaped. Oh no, earth quintessence pearl suppress! Large amounts of earth quintessence were being refined by the heaven and earth furnace, causing the devil's fetus to feel heartache. At that moment, he couldn't care less about hiding his tracks. He walked out from a void somewhere and personally took charge of the innate earth quintessence array. Above the earth quintessence, a yellow cocoon of light appeared. Innate Tao patterns circled around it, and it emitted an aura that was different from the Eldritch world. On top of the cocoon of light, a yellow pearl rose up. The mysteries of the earth flowed around it, and it was surrounded by a gentle light, illuminating the surroundings. Chapter 105. In mid-air, the earthly spirit pearl glowed faintly, and thousands of rays of light shone down. Suddenly, the origin of Earth condensed and turned into a huge piece of land. It was ancient and boundless, and no matter how much the heaven and earth furnace absorbed, it couldn't move it at all. This is the connate spiritual treasure earthly spirit pearl. Feng Zichen mumbled as he put away the heaven and earth furnace. After this pearl appeared, the chaos pearl in his body suddenly became restless and sent out a wave of excitement. It wanted to fly out of his body and devour the pearl. Obviously, this was the connate spiritual treasure, one of the 4 spirit pearls, the earthly spirit pearl. Moreover, after so many years of nourishment from the origin of Earth, the earthly spirit pearl's grade had improved a lot. It had evolved from a superior grade connate spiritual treasure to a supreme grade 1. It was much stronger than the other 3 pearls. Don't worry, don't worry. It won't fly away when it's in your hands. It'll be yours in a while. After calming down the restless chaos pearl, Feng Zichen looked at the devil's fetus and said, "Hey, you're finally here. Yo, fellow Taoist, you're finally willing to come out. You don't intend to continue hiding with me? Kill." The devil's fetus didn't reply. It was obvious that it had lost its patience. It spoke coldly, and its murderous intent was directed at Feng Zichen. Boom! The connate earth elemental formation was activated. Huge mountains rose into the sky like sharp swords, piercing towards Feng Zichen. At the same time, the boundless power of the earth rolled in, extremely heavy and mighty. Everywhere it passed, the great Tao rumbled, the void collapsed, and the divine chains of laws clanged as if they were about to break. It was a scene of the end of the universe. You think I'm afraid of you? Chaos array, open for me. Feng Zichen waved his sleeves, and a cloud appeared above his head. The chaos pearl fell, and in a flash of gray light, the connate Tao diagram spread out one by one, forming a divine diagram of the great Tao. The chaos array was activated. Hiss! Another supreme grade connate numinous treasure. You! Inside the connate earth elemental formation, Devil's fetus was stunned speechless when he sensed the power of the chaos bead. In the next moment, the 2 formations collided fiercely, forming a terrifying shockwave. Chaotic chi and the origin of the earth splashed out, and the laws of heaven and earth were shattered. The void had long since ceased to exist. The power of the chaos formation was stronger than the connate earth formation in the first place. In addition, there was a superior grade connate spiritual treasure in the connate 5 elements ring. As such, how could the innate earth elemental grand formation be a match for the primal chaos grand formation? It didn't take long for the innate earth elemental grand formation to be beaten back by the primal chaos grand formation, shrinking into a ball and defending with all its might. The devil's fetus was hiding in the array formation. Seeing that the array formation was constantly shaking under the impact of the chaos chi and was in danger of shattering at any moment, he felt a shadow of death looming over his heart, causing him to be filled with fear. No, I can't hide anymore. The power of this array formation is too strong. It won't be long before it breaks through the innate earth elemental grand formation and devours me. Under the threat of death, the devil's fetus's voice trembled. He knew that if he continued to hide, he would definitely die. Thus, he steeled his heart and decided to fight it out with Feng Zichen. You forced me to do this. Explode! With a furious roar, the devil's fetus brazenly detonated the innate earth elemental grand formation. Violent energy instantly spread out, rumbling and exploding the entire primal chaos grand formation. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the devil's fetus controlled the earthly spirit pearl and the origin of the earth, frantically fleeing underground. Even now, he was still a little confused. A moment ago, he clearly had the upper hand, firmly suppressing Feng Zichen in the origin of the earth, and the inheritance was within reach. But in the next moment, everything changed. In the blink of an eye, the situation was reversed. He was the one being beaten back by Feng Zichen. The great advantage he had was gone, and he could only flee for his life. Where do you think you're going? Stay here for me. Seeing that the devil's fetus was about to leave, how could Feng Zichen allow it? Not to mention the previous enmity, he had to make him stay for the earthly spirit pearl. As soon as his voice fell, the 5 chis in Feng Zichen's body gathered, and the 5 emperors' great palm rumbled out. With a whistling sound, it slammed towards the devil's fetus. Then, with a flip of his right hand, lightning rolled and formed a lightning net, which also wrapped around the devil's fetus. At the same time, he opened his mouth and let out a long roar, emitting the sound of a dragon's roar. A large number of runes appeared, forming a special sound wave that shook the void and whistled forward. Kill! In the end, Feng Zichen turned into a ray of light, and a terrifying aura spread out, as if it could stir the sea of stars and move mountains and rivers. It was incomparably terrifying, and he took the initiative to attack. Just as these supernatural powers were about to hit the devil's fetus, the earthly spirit pearl above his head spun, and a yellow light curtain dropped down, protecting him within. Boom! 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 These divine abilities slammed into the light barrier one after another, causing rumbling sounds to ring out. Even the void was twisting and exploding. Unfortunately, the light curtain flashed and blocked these supernatural powers one by one, firmly protecting the devil's fetus, not allowing him to be hurt at all. At this time, Feng Zichen suddenly arrived, and with the Hongmeng Daozhong raised, it carried an aura that could destroy all things, and slammed it down towards the devil's fetus. Clang! The Hongmeng Daozhong smashed into the light curtain, and thousands of strands of Hongmeng Qi fell down, and the light curtain collapsed inch by inch. At the critical moment, the earthly spirit pearl suddenly slammed into the Hongmeng Daozhong, and a huge force came, knocking Feng Zichen away, and this time, the devil's fetus would have been smashed into pieces. Phew, that was close. After hurriedly escaping for a few miles, the devil's fetus panted in shock, but he stopped and turned around to look at Feng Zichen. Run! Why aren't you running anymore? Could it be that you've finally remembered your pride as a descendant of the Chaos Demon God, and want to fight me to the death? Amidst his sarcasm, Feng Zichen increased his speed, and raised his sword to attack. Go to hell! The devil's fetus didn't speak at first, but when Feng Zichen came close, he suddenly let out a ferocious roar, and used himself as a weapon to slam into Feng Zichen. Seeing that the devil's fetus had even used the light cocoon to nurture himself, Feng Zichen knew in his heart that he had been forced into a desperate situation. This move was definitely his last resort, and it was bound to be very powerful. Putting away the contempt in his heart, Feng Zichen calmed his heart and faced it calmly. When Zichen waved his sword, the heaven-splitting Taoist rhyme swirled around, and as if it was splitting the heavens and earth, it slashed towards the light cocoon. Clang! Zichen's sword slashed on the light cocoon, and a crisp sound rang out, just like the sound of metal clashing against metal. A huge recoil came, and Feng Zichen's hand that was holding the sword went numb, and Zichen's sword almost slipped out of his hand. What? After retrieving Zichen's sword, Feng Zichen clenched his right hand back and forth, and after a few times, the numbness finally subsided. Haha, my light cocoon is formed by the arm of the demon god. You, a mere Tai Jingxian, an ant-like existence, want to destroy it? What a joke! As he spoke, the light cocoon's body surged, and its appearance changed drastically. It turned into a huge yellow hand that was covered with scales, and it covered the sky, as if it was the incarnation of Taoism, and it slapped towards Feng Zichen. It was the arm of the earth demon god. Suddenly, a tyrannical aura rose into the sky, and a murderous aura swept out. Chapter 106. Kill. 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 At the same time, he was gradually losing his rationality. He had the desire to destroy everything. His fangs were protruding, and he was gradually becoming a ferocious beast. Just as Feng Zichen was about to lose his rationality, the Hongmeng Daozhong sensed his danger. It buzzed and trembled, and wisps of Hongmeng's aura were hanging down. Dong! A long bell rang. It seemed to come from the past and the future. It was like the roar of the great Tao. It echoed in Feng Zichen's ears, cleansing his soul and destroying the external demons. Suddenly, as if a basin of cold water had been poured over his head, Feng Zichen woke up with a start. The murderous aura in his body disappeared, and his body gradually returned to normal. Hiss! It's so powerful. Is this the Chaos Demon God? Just the aura of a broken arm almost made me fall. No wonder it's the most powerful creature in the world. If the Hongmeng Daozhong hadn't woken me up in time, I would have fallen and become a ferocious beast. After waking up, Feng Zichen's face turned pale. His forehead was covered with cold sweat, and his face was full of fear. This was the closest he had ever been to death. He had almost died. What a great treasure! The devil's fetus, who had witnessed all this, couldn't help but praise the Hongmeng Daozhong. But it's mine now. After that, he suddenly made a move and brazenly grabbed towards the primordial Dao Bell, and he revealed an intent to obtain it. The devil's fetus's demon god arm was only a few feet long, but in Feng Zichen's eyes, it was so huge that it covered the sky and the sun. It seemed to fill the entire void, and it grabbed at him as if it could shrink the sky and the earth. The lines on his palm contained the truth of the great Tao, which was the manifestation of the great Tao of earth. He was the master of the great Tao, the source of the great Tao of earth. Boom, 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 the giant hand came closer and closer. The aura of the great Tao filled the air, enveloping the surroundings. It was as if it had completely occupied Feng Zichen's mind, causing him to see nothing but the giant hand. The shadow of death came, and there was no way to avoid it. Retreat! Feng Zichen did not dodge, nor was he able to dodge. He poured all of his mana into the Hongmeng Daozhong and used all of his strength to activate its power. He blasted it out and collided with the giant hand. Bang! Amidst the shocking explosion, the two of them collided violently and were both sent flying. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions, forming a destructive storm that destroyed everything. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. Not good. Seeing the destructive storm blowing towards him, Feng Zichen was horrified. He didn't have time to call back Hongmeng Daozhong. His figure flashed as he hid inside the chaos bead. After an unknown amount of time, the destructive storm gradually subsided, and the void regained its tranquility. Is it over? Inside the chaos bead, Feng Zichen secretly sent out a strand of divine consciousness. He scanned the surroundings for a moment, and only walked out when he saw that there was no danger. In the distance, sensing Feng Zichen's aura, a purple light flashed, and the Hongmeng Daozhong wobbled back to his side. It kept circling around, as if expressing its dissatisfaction with him for abandoning it. Where's the devil's fetus? Suddenly, Feng Zichen had a thought. He raised the Hongmeng Daozhong and knocked it above his head. Almost at the same time, the demonic god's arm suddenly appeared above his head and slammed down. With a boom, the demonic god's arm was repelled by the Hongmeng Daozhong. A huge recoil came, and Feng Zichen's internal organs were shattered. With a cry, he opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. He had suffered serious injuries. I see. After being injured by the devil's fetus, Feng Zichen was not worried. Instead, he was overjoyed. As if he had figured something out, he pointed at Feng Zichen and laughed. No wonder you didn't dare to use this move at the start. So it's because you don't know how much power this move has left. The earth demonic god's arm had been chopped off by Pangu, and its origin had already fallen greatly. Later on, it had given birth to the devil's fetus, and as a result, its origin had fallen by another layer. After the devil's fetus gained consciousness, it did not hesitate to expel its own origin in order to survive. This weakened its presence and made it easier for it to use the earth spirit bead to hide from the heavenly Tao. The origin of the earth beneath their feet had come from this. The demonic god's arm had been weakened layer by layer, and its power had already fallen greatly. Even the devil's fetus did not know how much its power had fallen. If not for the fact that the devil's fetus had been forced into a corner by Feng Zichen, it would not have taken the risk to use this move. Fortunately, although the demonic god's arm was not as powerful as before, it was enough to protect itself. So what if I am? A chaos demonic god is a chaos demonic god after all. Even if it's just an arm, no matter how much its power has fallen, it's still not something an ant like you can deal with. As it spoke, the demonic god's arm emitted a chaotic aura that caused the surrounding space to change greatly. An aura that was completely different from the primeval world rushed towards them, ancient and profound. In the blink of an eye, a chaotic space appeared. There was no up, down, left, right, past or future. The great Tao of the world became clearer and clearer. However, it was not any great Tao that Feng Zichen was familiar with. In this chaotic space, Feng Zichen could clearly feel that everything he knew about the world had become blurry and deviated. The rules and abilities that he had comprehended in the primeval world, and even the power that he had painstakingly cultivated, were disappearing and being taken away by the chaotic space. The power of the chaotic space. Feng Zichen clenched his fists. A vast and incomparably divine aura rose from his body. It was vast and mighty, and it broke through the seal of the chaotic space, breaking through all restraints. This was Panga's aura, which could suppress all eternity. The realm of the demonic god of chaos was too high. It was an existence that Feng Zichen could not understand. When the devil's fetus activated the power of the demonic god's arm at all costs, only Panga's aura could contend against it. Rumble! The yellow light condensed, and the shadow of Mount Buzhou appeared. With an indomitable and vast momentum, it suppressed the arm of the demonic god. Kill! Knowing that there was no way out, the devil's fetus did not care too much. In an instant, the origin of the earth was ablaze. Abundant power was injected into the demonic god's arm. The chaotic power surged out with an ancient aura and slapped the shadow of Mount Buzhou with all its strength. At this moment, something out of Feng Zichen's expectations happened. After the shadow of Mount Buzhou sensed the aura of the demonic god, it shook slightly. Then in the center of the primeval world, where Mount Buzhou was, a Taoist rime fell, making it more solid and its power increased sharply. In an instant, the demonic god's arm was fixed in the void. It was suppressed by the shadow of Mount Buzhou and could not move at all. The origin of the earth broke away from the control of the devil's fetus and rushed to the shadow of Mount Buzhou. When everything calmed down, the origin of the earth had completely disappeared and turned into a mini Mount Buzhou. It was about 10,000 feet tall and pressed down on the devil's fetus, suppressing everything about him. Whoosh! Before Feng Zichen could collect the spoils of war, the tree of world impatiently stretched out a root and rooted in the devil's fetus, absorbing his origin. Chapter 107. Kaboom! After swallowing the devil's fetus, the tree of worlds suddenly expanded. Its branches and leaves lifted the void, its trunk opened the heavens and the earth, and its roots connected to the endless dimensions. Runes surrounded its body, and Tao and reason intertwined, giving rise to all kinds of laws of heaven and earth. Connate Qi fell like a waterfall, and the aura of the great Tao filled the air. 3,000 balls of light appeared and surrounded it, shining brightly, and clustered around it. Around the balls of light, there were billions of light spots floating in the void. Some were big and some were small, and they were looming in and out of existence, mysterious and unpredictable. What is this? Looking at those bright balls of light, Feng Zichen was curious. He separated a strand of his divine thought and looked forward. After his divine thought came into contact with the balls of light, strange scenes appeared in front of him, too much for his eyes to take in. Ignoring these scenes, Feng Zichen separated another strand of his divine thought and looked inside the balls of light. This is a greater world? What he saw was so shocking that Feng Zichen couldn't help but exclaim. Inside the balls of light was a strange world. It was extremely vast, and the landscape was strange and ancient. There were no signs of life, and it was a primitive scene. Are these balls of light the legendary 3,000 greater worlds and the billions of small and medium-sized worlds? There were 3,000 balls of light and billions of light spots. Didn't they correspond to the 3,000 greater worlds and the billions of small and medium-sized worlds? With this thought, Feng Zichen didn't hesitate anymore. His majestic divine thought surged out and swept toward the balls of light. Vast worlds appeared in front of him. They were different, but they all exuded the aura of heaven and earth. Inside the worlds, the space was full of cracks, and destructive storms intertwined. The rules of heaven and earth were exposed, and they exuded a terrifying aura. The chaotic qi had not dissipated, and it tore the space apart. The connate qi had not separated, and it was stagnant and floating in the air. The earth had just been born, and there was still a lot of connate qi flowing. In the sky, there was nothing else except the connate qi that was rolling endlessly. There was no heavenly Tao aura. The entire world was empty and devoid of any signs of life. It was as if the heavens and earth had just been opened and the world had just been born. When he looked at those specks of light again, he could still see the appearance of a medium realm, but a minor realm was just a mass of heaven and earth origin qi. If it weren't for the fact that there were laws within it, it wouldn't look like a world at all. This world tree is indeed a chaos spiritual root. It's so miraculous that it can connect with the 3,000 worlds that have yet to be fully formed. Feng Zichen exclaimed in shock after looking at the Tree of World for a while. As the World Tree grew, its power grew stronger and stronger. It extended 3,000 roots and took root in the depths of the void, connecting with the 3,000 great worlds. Moreover, on top of these 3,000 roots, there were countless tentacles that extended outwards, connecting to millions upon millions of small and medium worlds. It could be seen that only a small portion of the origin energy from the World Tree flowed down. Most of the rest flowed into the greater thousand worlds through the roots of the World Tree, accelerating their growth. Sigh. I was wondering why the more the World Tree grows, the less the origin energy from the World Tree. It turns out that the roots are here. Feng Zichen shook his head and sighed regretfully. This was an act of obedience to the heavens, which was greatly beneficial to the evolution of the untainted world. To the way of heaven, it could be said that there were many benefits. If Feng Zichen dared to be greedy for the origin energy of the world, the way of heaven would not let him off easily. With a thought, Feng Zichen stepped forward, intending to follow the roots of the World Tree into the newly born greater thousand worlds to look for opportunities. However, just as he approached the light ball, a great terror suddenly struck his heart. A line of sight appeared in the dark, staring at him coldly. It was as if he dared to take another step forward, the power of thunder would descend and kill him. This is the way of heaven. The will of death approached him, causing Feng Zichen to involuntarily stop in his tracks. All the hair on his body stood on end, and he stood there stiffly, not daring to move. Phew! After standing quietly for a moment and sensing that the way of heaven's line of sight had disappeared, Feng Zichen hurriedly retreated until he was far enough away from the light ball. Only then did he relax and let out a long breath. The way of heaven actually values the 3,000 great worlds so much that it did not hesitate to leave behind a trace of its gaze and pay attention to this place at all times. How terrifying! It seems that I can't go to the 3,000 great worlds now. Looking at the light ball in the distance, Feng Zichen's face was filled with fear. Facing the majesty of the way of heaven, that feeling of not being able to control oneself was not good. Sigh. I've done all the dirty and tiring work. Now that there are benefits, you kick me away. This table manners are too ugly. Feng Zichen could not help but complain as he took out the chaos bead and stored the World Tree that had stopped growing. He had paid so much to grow the World Tree. It was not easy for him to see some gains, but the way of heaven did not even let him touch it. Naturally, Feng Zichen was dissatisfied. However, no matter how dissatisfied he was, he did not dare to show it on his face, for fear of angering the way of heaven. The higher one's cultivation was, the more they understood how terrifying the way of heaven was. Feng Zichen came to the front of Mount Buzhou formed by the earth origin and waved his hand fiercely. Come! Rumble! The mini Mount Buzhou began to collapse, turning into streaks of yellow flowing light that flowed into Feng Zichen's body and converged into a Taoist seal. In an instant, a mighty force rose from his body, shaking the mountains and rivers for thousands of miles. What a powerful divine power! Sensing the power contained in the Mount Buzhou Taoist seal, Feng Zichen was shocked. For some reason, the strand of Mount Buzhou's origin did not leave after suppressing the devil's fetus. Instead, it merged with the Mount Buzhou Taoist seal. In addition, when suppressing the devil's fetus, the Mount Buzhou Taoist seal had absorbed so much of the earth origin that its power had increased to a terrifying level. As for how powerful it was, Feng Zichen could not describe it, because with his current strength, he could not activate this divine power at all. It seemed that the gap between their levels was too great, causing it to exceed Feng Zichen's understanding. If he used it by force, he would probably be sucked dry in an instant. Bas! While Feng Zichen was still in shock, a yellow light suddenly flashed from the position where the devil's fetus was suppressed and flew rapidly into the distance. It was the connate spiritual treasure, Earthly Spirit Pearl. I've been guarding against you for a long time. With a smile, Feng Zichen stretched out his hand and pointed. The Hongmeng Daozhong and the Chaos Bead flew out one after another and hit the Earthly Spirit Pearl. After being promoted to an ultimate primordial spiritual treasure, the Earthly Spirit Pearl had gained some spirituality. Naturally, it was unwilling to be devoured by the Chaos Bead and immediately resisted fiercely. Unfortunately, even though they were both ultimate primordial spiritual treasures, the Earthly Spirit Pearl was still inferior to the Hongmeng Daozhong and the Chaos Bead. Not to mention that it was fighting one against two. Before long, the Hongmeng Daozhong suddenly exploded and knocked the Earthly Spirit Pearl out of the ground. Then, the chaos bead shone brightly and suppressed it. Chapter 108. Bas. Bas. The chaos bead trembled for a moment and completely devoured the earthly spirit bead. Its power increased greatly. Strands of black light bloomed, and the law of chaos filled the air, rippling with an astonishing aura. Haha, what a treasure! Feng Zichen was overjoyed by the changes in the chaos bead. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. He waved his hand and summoned the chaos bead back. He placed it in his palm and looked at it carefully. At this time, the chaos bead became more and more illusory. The past, present, and future were untraceable and unimaginable. It was as if they didn't exist in this world. Calculating the time, Emperor Sui should have attained the Tao of Daluo. It's time to go back. Let's go. Feng Zichen nodded in satisfaction. He put away the chaos bead and flew to the ground. Now that everything was over, it was time to return to the human race. Maybe he could go back now and witness the scene of Emperor Sui attaining the Tao. At the human ancestral temple on the coast of the East Sea, a bright light shot into the sky. It was earth-shattering, and majestic power swept across the 6 directions. It caused the sky to lose its color, the void to tremble, and the mountains and rivers to shake. Emperor Sui has begun to break through. In the distance, Feng Zichen smiled when he saw the light pillar rising from the East Sea. He knew what had happened. He couldn't help but quicken his pace and rush to the East Sea. At this time, in the human ancestral temple, Suiren's 5 chi were rolling in his chest like 5 huge dragons. His body was covered with golden flames. He was like the sun, dazzling and shining in all directions. That fire was the fire of civilization, the fire of inheritance. It was endless. That light was the light of Tao, the light of all spirits, the light of humanity. It was extremely bright. In the flames, shadows of humans appeared. They came to the primordial world bare-handed. They had no one to rely on and were not afraid of death. They fought the heavens, the earth, and the beasts. After experiencing all kinds of hardships and overcoming all kinds of tribulations, he started from nothing and went through all kinds of hardships to create a home that belonged to him in the primeval age. On their bodies, there was an incomparably firm belief, a heart that constantly strived to become stronger. This was the spirit of humanity that shook the heavens and the earth. Now, Suiren ignited this spirit, his understanding of the great Tao, and his love for the human race. They turned into his understanding of fire, burning fiercely and helping him to open the door of Daluo. Boom! As the human Tao spirit burned, the flames on Suiren's body burned even more fiercely. Terrifying heat radiated, burning the void into nothingness. Go! Under the burning heat, the Chou clan and the Zi clan who were guarding Suiren could not bear it. They looked at each other and hurriedly left the ancestral temple to hide in the distance. Not long after they left, the terrifying heat rushed out of the ancestral temple and spread in all directions. In the blink of an eye, the land was scorched for thousands of miles and quickly attacked the humans. Suiren was completely immersed in the enlightenment of the great Tao. He had no sense of what was happening in the outside world, not to mention restraining his own strength. Just when everyone was in danger, the statue of Nuwa in the ancestral temple suddenly shone with divine light. An invisible force spread out and eliminated the terrifying heat at once. The strange phenomenon of Suiren's breakthrough was completely sealed in the ancestral temple, and no trace of it leaked out. Tao! A clear and melodious voice, like the sound of the great Tao, echoed in Suiren's ears and cleared his doubts. It was Nuwa's voice. As the creator of the human race, Suiren had attained the Tao of Daluo Jingxian. How could such a big movement be hidden from her? Therefore, Nuwa, who lived in Emperor Nvua's palace, deliberately lowered her eyes and came to the ancestral temple of the human race to help Suiren. With Nuwa's help, Suiren vaguely perceived a strange space that inexplicably attracted his mind and tried to pull him into it. He knew that it was a space formed by the Tao of Fire. As long as he got there, he would be half of Daluo Jingxian. Not daring to delay, Suiren hurriedly touched his true spirit and rushed to the space of fire according to the guidance in his heart. But in the void, earth, fire, water, wind, thunder, and fire suddenly appeared. Endless tribulations appeared and turned into a tribulation of Tao, blocking his path. This was the first difficulty of Daluo Jingxian, the tribulation of Tao obstruction. Swoosh! Behind Suerin's head, the dazzling golden light of merit appeared and shone brightly. It dissolved all kinds of tribulations and opened a path to the space of fire. In this way, Daluo Jinxian's first tribulation was broken. In the space of fire, the essence of fire filled the air, filled with all kinds of innate flames. They burned fiercely and emitted amazing power. This was the origin of fire. Everything related to fire could be seen here, whether it was the Tao of Li Fire or the Tao of True Fire. They were all branches of the Tao of Fire. Imprinting one's understanding of the Tao of Fire in the space of fire and using one's own Tao to explain the Tao of Fire, this was Daluo Jinxian. Strolling in the space of fire, Suiren released wisps of torch flame from his body and merged into the void. This was Suiren's Tao, the Tao of torch flame. It represented his vision of the human race, passing down the torch and growing endlessly. As the torch flame merged into the space of fire, a wisp of the Tao of torch flame appeared in the space of fire. Suiren's true spirit began to sublimate, and the eternal light of Tao enveloped him. Suddenly, the connate flames floating in the air underwent a transformation. They transformed into numerous enormous figures that charged at Suiren. This was Daluo Jinxian's second challenge, the struggle for the Great Tao. The Daluo's struggle was for the right to explain the Great Tao. The Tao of Fire was only a concept, and it generally referred to everything related to fire. Therefore, every Daluo Jinxian who had attained the Tao of Fire had a different understanding of the Tao of Fire. Those who were able to become golden immortals were all favored by the heavens and people with firm Tao hearts. All of them believed that their understanding of the Tao of Fire was the most correct and strongest, and no one could convince anyone else. They all wanted to use their own understanding to explain the Tao of Fire and become the master of the Tao of Fire, occupying the innate fire fate. In the ancient times, things were still fine. Phoenix was the first to attain the Tao of Fire, and naturally became the master of the Tao of Fire. With the Nirvana flame as the source of all flames, she explained the Tao of Fire and the world obeyed her. But after the ancient times, Phoenix abdicated and everything changed. At this time, the Tao of Fire had given birth to many Daluo Jinxian, and it would be difficult for them to become the master of the Tao of Fire. Therefore, under the suppression of everyone, the position of the master of the Tao of Fire was left empty. In order to reduce the number of competitors, the Daluo Jinxian treated all those who had attained the Tao of Fire with the greatest hostility. Following the principle of stopping as many as possible, they showed no mercy in their attacks. Suiren had not completed his transformation, so how could he be a match for these experienced Daluo? Even with the help of the Suiren lamp, he was still defeated. Chapter 109. Chirp. Just as Suiren was about to be thrown out of the fire dimension, a sharp chirp of a bird was heard. It was intimidating and majestic. When the Daluo Jinxian heard the chirp, they stopped attacking Suiren. They stopped what they were doing and looked into the depths of the fire dimension in bewilderment. Over there, a ball of 7-colored brilliance gradually rose up like a burning flame. The brilliance was dazzling and resplendent. The image of a phoenix appeared, and its graceful and luxurious aura was fully revealed. That's Phoenix. What's going on? Since ancient times, this existence has been removed from the position of Taoist master. He has been in seclusion. Why did he suddenly appear today? What's going on? Could it be that he wants to regain the position of Taoist master? But with his strength, the position of Taoist master is dispensable. He shouldn't be here to compete with the Poor Wei and the others, right? For a moment, the appearance of Phoenix caused the Daluo Jinxian to be confused. They were trying to figure out the purpose of his appearance. After all, Phoenix was too famous. If he were here, the Daluo Jinxian would have nothing to do with the position of Taoist master. Unfortunately, Phoenix didn't answer their doubts. He just glanced at them coldly. Oh no! That Taoist master is related to Phoenix. At this moment, the Daluo Jinxian suddenly understood the purpose of Phoenix's appearance. But it was too late. Boom! 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 Under the gaze of Phoenix, the Daluo's Taoist shadows shattered and turned back into balls of congenital fire. It would take thousands of years for them to recover and reform their Taoist shadows. Thank you, Taoist priests. At the side, Xianxia, who had just escaped from the crisis, quickly thanked the phoenix. It's okay. Since I have promised to protect the human race, how can I allow them to stop you from achieving the Tao? Nodding at Suiren, Phoenix's Tao shadow slowly disappeared. The human race is so lucky to have Zichen. Suiren exclaimed after standing still for a while. How could he not understand that the reason why Phoenix helped him today was all because of Feng Zichen's teaching that day? Suiren put away his unnecessary thoughts and tried his best to prove his Tao. With so many things on his shoulders, he could not afford to fail. Boom! Xianxia flew out from his body and merged into the fire elemental dimension. Gradually, a tiny dot of Xianxia appeared in the void. Although it was incomparable to the other innate fires, it was still growing stronger. At the same time, Suiren's comprehension of the fire elemental Tao poured into his true spirit and attacked his spiritual altar. This was Daluo Jinxian's third obstacle, the Tao assimilation, and also the most dangerous one. Facing the impact of the Tao assimilation, Daluo Jinxian would be free and unfettered from then on. But if he couldn't, his spiritual altar would shatter and his consciousness would be erased by the Tao assimilation, becoming a part of the Tao of heaven and earth. This obstacle was filled with both opportunities and dangers. It was the most dangerous one. But that was only for others. For someone like Suiren, who had great merits, this obstacle was only a fortuitous encounter and not a dangerous one. The golden light of merits in his body shone brightly and covered his spiritual altar. No matter how the Tao assimilation attacked him, it would protect his mind and allow him to digest the Tao assimilation. 100 years later, in the fire elemental dimension, Xianxia had completely transformed into Suiren's appearance. This meant that there was a new branch of the Tao of Xianxia in the fire elemental dimension. Then, Suiren's figure suddenly disappeared and returned to his mortal body. Dazzling Tao light rose from his body, exuding an immortal and indestructible aura. His majestic aura swept out in all directions and shook the heavens and earth. At this moment, the human race had their own Daluo Jinxian, Suiren. Whoosh! The river of fate appeared. In the misty river, the light that represented Suiren turned into a Xianxia and leaped out of the water, transcending above it and disappearing. The river of destiny has appeared again. Is a new Daluo Jinxian born? Is it the monster race? Or the witch race? Sensing the birth of a new Daluo Jinxian, the mighty figures who were sitting quietly revealed a slight fluctuation. They looked towards the river of destiny to see who had transcended the river of destiny and become their friend. Hiss! The new Daluo Jinxian is a human. It's only been a few 100,000 years since Nuwa created humans. A new Daluo Jinxian was born in the human race? How can his cultivation speed be so fast? As expected of a saint's creation. He's really extraordinary. Discovering that the new Daluo Jinxian was a human, the mighty figures could not help but be curious. What kind of power could allow an acquired creation to ascend to the realm of Daluo in just a few 100,000 years? With that thought in mind, the Taoist hearts of these mighty figures began to ripple. They could no longer maintain their composure, and they all looked at the humans in shock. Humph! In the palace of Empress Hua, Nuwa was displeased to see the mighty figures peeping at the human race so unscrupulously. She could not help but snort coldly. Suddenly, the gazes that were looking at the human race were shattered. The mighty figures smiled embarrassedly but did not dare to peep at the human race again. Now that Suiren has attained the Tao, the poor Wei, as the holy mother of the human race, must reward him. After warning the mighty figures, Nuwa thought for a while and said to the beauty in palace dress beside her. Golden Phoenix, you go to the human race on behalf of the poor Wei and bring the 3 ancestors of the human race to the palace of Empress Hua. Over the years, the human race has developed well under their governance. The poor Wei certainly has to express her gratitude. The beauty in palace dress nodded and bowed to Nuwa. As you command, Your Highness. After that, she turned and walked out of the palace of Empress Hua, turned into a golden phoenix, and flew towards the untainted land. Congratulations on attaining the realm of Daluo. From now on you will be immortal and free. Outside the ancestral temple of the human race, seeing that all the fluctuations had subsided, the Chou clan and the Zi clan were overjoyed. They walked quickly into the hall and congratulated Suiren. Haha! Second brother, third sister, you are too polite. After successfully attaining the realm of Daluo, Suiren could not hide his excitement even though he was usually calm. He could not help but smile. After meeting you today, I know that the vastness of Daluo is not something that Tai can fathom. I was really narrow-minded in the past. Seeing Suiren's figure, some members of the Chou clan sighed with envy. At this time, Suiren's temperament was as profound as the Tao. His body was surrounded by Taoist light, and his every move was in harmony with the heaven and earth, giving people a feeling of boundless vastness. Yes, without attaining the realm of Daluo, you will never know the power of Daluo. The past, the present, and the future are all in one. This is a power that Tai Jingxian can't reach. Feeling the changes in his body, Suiren agreed. However, second brother, third sister, you don't have to be envious. I feel that a great opportunity is coming. Perhaps your chance of attaining the Tao lies in it. Seeing that the two were a little depressed, Suiren comforted them. Chapter 110. What? An opportunity to attain Tao? Big brother, please don't lie to me. Is there really a great opportunity coming soon? Some members of the Chou clan were overjoyed when they heard this. They asked Suiren for confirmation. The members of the Z clan were also hopeful. They hoped to get a positive answer. Of course. Why would I lie to you about this? Suiren smiled and replied with certainty. After becoming the Daluo Jingxian, Suiren's spiritual awareness had increased greatly. He was more sensitive to things related to himself. Therefore, he sensed it the moment Nuwa gave the order. He knew that an opportunity was coming. Emperor Sui, congratulations! Some members of the Chou clan wanted to ask more questions, but Feng Zichen's voice came from afar. Then, a purple light flashed and he appeared in front of the three of them. That's... The moment Feng Zichen appeared, Suiren felt an awe-inspiring aura rush toward him. It was majestic, sacred, and powerful. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes and look at him. Mount Buzhou. Behind Feng Zichen, the shadow of a majestic sacred mountain appeared. It was ancient and unsophisticated. Its Taoist rhymes were thick, sacred, and inviolable. It exuded an indomitable aura as if it could suppress everything. Zichen, what's going on? Why did the shadow of Mount Buzhou appear behind you? Suiren was shocked. He asked curiously. Oh, Emperor Sui, are you talking about Mount Buzhou? That's a new superpower that I've obtained. It's very powerful. However, I can't use it with my current strength. What a pity! Feng Zichen had seen the power of the shadow of Mount Buzhou with his own eyes. He had already mastered such an earth-shattering superpower, but he couldn't use it because of his current strength. This made him very depressed. Not bad, this power is already beginning to resemble Daluo's might. Suiren nodded in agreement. The aura of this mystique made even the Daluo Jingxian frown. It was obvious how powerful it was. Big brother, what is this great opportunity that you're talking about? Speaking halfway, you're really making me anxious. Seeing that Suiren and Feng Zichen were chatting as if no one else was around, a member of the Chou clan anxiously interrupted them. Opportunity? What kind of opportunity made Chao Huang so excited? Feng Zichen had just arrived, so he didn't know much about what had happened. He smiled and asked curiously. Second brother, you're confused. What is an opportunity? It's because it's unknown that it's called an opportunity. If I knew what it was, I would have taken it directly. I wouldn't have waited for it to come to me. Suiren frowned a little at the Chou clan's behavior just now. He waved his sleeves, and a clear light flew out and entered the body of a member of the Chou clan. Big brother, I'm sorry. I was too impulsive. The clear light entered the body of a member of the Chou clan and woke him up instantly. He thought about his actions and quickly apologized. It's okay. Achieving Tao is related to your future. It's normal for you to be anxious. But your emotions have been unstable recently, and you often do impulsive things. You don't have the demeanor of a Tai Jingxian at all. Is there something wrong with your body? Suiren thought about the Chou clan's recent abnormalities and couldn't help but ask with concern. By the side, Feng Zichen was also somewhat puzzled. Logically speaking, Primordial Unity Golden Immortals should not be disturbed by their emotions and should not be trapped by their emotions. They should be quiet and free, and should not be impulsive. Why was Chao Huang's emotions so unstable? Thinking of this, Feng Zichen secretly used his sun-moon godly gaze and looked at Yu Chao Shi. Resentment. Why is there so much resentment in Chao Huang's body? Feng Zichen could clearly see through the vision of the sun-moon god eyes that there was a thick resentment between the eyebrows of a member of the Chou clan. It was giving off an ominous aura. Affected by this resentment, a member of the Chou clan's spiritual altar was covered in dust and his true spirit was dim. This caused him to lose his mind and be easily swayed by his emotions. But this doesn't make sense. Chao Huang's body is protected by the golden light of merit, which can repel all evil. Moreover, the golden light of merit is the best at restraining this kind of filthy aura. Usually, before these grievances can even get close to the Nest Emperor, they would be destroyed by the virtue qi emitted from his body. They wouldn't be able to get close to him. But what's going on with this resentment? How did it go around the golden light of merit and entangle itself with Chao Huang? Feng Zichen closed his eyes and used the crepe myrtle divination technique. He silently calculated in his heart and traced the origin of the resentment. After a while, he opened his eyes and looked at the Chou clan with a complicated expression. He quietly looked away, but there was nothing he could do about it. All right, second brother, third sister, you can go back first. It's been hard on you these past few days. Go back and have a good rest. Xianxia's mouth twitched when he saw Yu Chao Shi's bitter smile. Yes. The Zi clan responded and pulled the Chou clan away. Zichen, you've noticed as well, right? After the two of them had walked far away, Xianxia spoke with a worried expression. His tone was filled with worry. Yes. Feng Zichen nodded and continued, but judging from Chao Huang's current situation, we can't help much. He can only rely on himself to overcome it. The resentment came from the human immortals who had died at the hands of the ferocious beasts. They blamed Feng Zichen and the others for driving them out of the East Sea and causing them to live in a precarious state. They blamed Feng Zichen and the others for not helping them and allowing them to die tragically at the hands of the ferocious beasts. Because of all these reasons, their resentment didn't dissipate after their deaths. It turned into a monstrous resentment and attacked Feng Zichen and the others. However, Feng Zichen and the others were protected by the aura of virtue. Before the resentment could reach them, it was purified by the aura of virtue. It didn't even cause a splash. However, the Chou clan was different. He cultivated the Tao of protection and took it as his duty to protect the human race. He couldn't tolerate any harm to the human race. In the past, the Chou clan built a nest and gave the human race a place to live. They didn't have to be threatened by the wind and rain or bullied by the ferocious beasts. Seeing the happy faces of his clansmen, a member of the Chou clan was enlightened and found his future path. He wanted to protect his clansmen and everything they had created. Therefore, when the ferocious beasts broke out and caused a large number of deaths, a member of the Chou clan fell into deep self-blame. When the resentment surged, not only did he not purify it, but he also suppressed the aura of virtue and allowed it to enter his body. He planned to punish himself in this way in an attempt to eliminate the resentment of his clansmen. Yes, this kind of thing can only be understood by oneself. No matter how much outsiders say, it's useless. Xianxia nodded with some melancholy. He's going to a dead end. Yes, I've got it. After thinking for a while, Feng Zichen said to Xianxia, now the East Sea is at the East Sea. You've broken through to the Daluo realm. Why don't you take this opportunity to preach for everyone for 100 years? You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.